a.m. If everybody could stand for the pledge, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Let the clerk know that we're all in attendance here this morning. At this time of the meeting, we take a brief moment of silence. This is for individual prayer, reflection, or meditation. We take this time to honor and remember our first responders and the men and women in our military who keep us safe and protect our freedoms at home and abroad. All right, thank you. Again, appreciate everybody being here today. I've got a few modifications and deletions for the agenda that I need to go over. For the commission, I need consensus to move item 4B1, that's the City of Flagler Beach Centennial Proclamation, to immediately follow the announcements. Mayor King has a 9:30 appointment, and also add 4C1 presentation. Our medical examiner is here today and wants to give a report to the commission. I need a motion and a second.
Mr. Chair, I move that we add, paragraph 4C1 for a presentation by the medical examiner.
And to move the Flagler Beach
And
proclamation.
move Flagler Beach, City of Flagler Beach Centennial presentation to immediately after announcements.
Second.
All right, a motion by Commissioner Hanson, seconded by Commissioner Richardson. All those in favor signify with aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, hearing none. I'm not there yet. I'm getting there.
Okay.
Also, the deletion is item 8A. That was a consideration of approval of grant agreement HL 296 between the Florida Department of Commerce and Flagler County Board of County Commissioners for Economic Development in the amount of $10 million. That was pulled.
That was 8B.
8B, thank you. Item 8B. That was pulled by staff on August 2nd. The meeting agenda was updated. Since that is not on the agenda, if anybody would like to comment on that item, your opportunity to do so is during one of our 30-minute community outreach periods at the beginning or end of the meeting. A few additional announcements. The county offices will be closed Friday, April 18th in observance of Good Friday. We also want to alert everybody to the transparency dashboards, which are at flaglercounty.gov. You can see all the status, funding, and schedules for our capital projects, including our drainage and maintenance projects. Excuse me. Upcoming meetings, we have a workshop today, Monday, April 7th at 1 p.m. here in the chambers. Our next regular scheduled meeting is Monday, April 21st at 5 p.m. And there's a Flagler Palm Coast Housing Fair Saturday, April 12th from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. And a brief reminder that during our 30-minute public comment times, these are time limited, so I would ask you to form a line. The first person that comes and speaks, if you can gather in a line behind them, it'll make it go a lot faster and we'll get more people the opportunity to speak. And our first, we have and just for everybody's to know, if you've looked at the agenda, we've got 2 recognitions at the beginning of the meeting, and we've got 6 proclamations. Those take 5-7 minutes each, and then the presentation by the medical examiner. So you're probably looking at a good 45, 50, maybe an hour before we get to public comment, just so that you're ready. But there's some good things you'll be able to learn, and you'll be able to hear some great things going on in the community. All right, our first recognition This is a Distinguished Budget Award from the Governmental Finance Officers Association.
You want to do the Flagler Beach?
Thank you, sir. Appreciate that. That's why I got you guys here, keep me straight. Mayor was thinking, oh my gosh, he forgot me. Mayor King, if you could come to the podium, please. All right, so we'll move this proclamation up. This is the City of Flagler Beach Centennial, April 16th, 2025. And Commissioner Carney has that proclamation.
Thank you, Chair. A proclamation of the Flagler County Board of County Commissioners celebrating April 16, 2025 as the centennial of Flagler Beach, whereas April 16, 2025 marks the 100th anniversary of the incorporation of Flagler Beach, and as Flagler Beach celebrates its centennial, it is fitting to recognize the City of Flagler Beach on this special milestone and to applaud its distinguished history. And whereas the City of Flagler Beach has a total area of 6 square miles, a population of over 5,200 residents, and miles of pristine beach, a unique length of shoreline, punctuated by 2 buildings, the Flagler Beach Pier and High Tide Snack Jacks. And whereas the pier, the iconic symbol of Flagler Beach in Flagler County, was begun in 1926 and completed in 1928, and whereas past and present, the City of Flagler Beach has been an important contributor to the economy of Flagler County, a much-loved home to its residents, and a welcoming destination to its visitors. And whereas Flagler Beach is a protected habitat for nesting sea turtles, dolphins, and whales, which can be seen from its shoreline and is designated a bird sanctuary. And whereas the City of Flagler Beach will proudly mark the 100th anniversary of this incorporation of Flagler Beach with a series of centennial year celebrations beginning with a birthday party on April 16, 2025. Now therefore, the Flagler County Board of County Commissioners do hereby proclaim April 16, 2025 as the centennial of Flagler Beach and encourages all citizens and visitors to honor the City of Flagler Beach, reflecting on its rich past, present, and future, and to join with the hashtag Flagler Strong Community as they celebrate their 100th anniversary, adopted the 7th day of April 2025, attested Tom Bexley, Clerk and Circuit Court and Comptroller, and Flagler County Board of County Commissioners, Andrew Dance, Chairman. Chair, I'd like to make a motion to approve this proclamation.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Carney, seconded by Commissioner Hanson. All those in favor signify with aye.
Aye.
Congratulations. Good to see you.
Well, thank you. I appreciate you all doing this and would like to thank each and every one of you for this proclamation and invite you to please attend our birthday party April 16th between 4 p.m. and 7 p.m. with a cake cutting at 6.
Great. And for the record, just introduce yourself for the
Oh,
clerk.
I'm sorry. Patty King,
Great.
Mayor of the City of Flagler Beach. Honored to represent all of our commissioners and residents and businesses.
Looking forward to the big celebration.
Yes, thank you. It's awesome.
All right. Well, very good. We don't want to hold you. I know you've got another appointment, but
Yes.
thank you for being here
Well, thank
for this proclamation, and
a lot.
hope you have good travels out to your next appointment.
All right. Thank you all so much. All right. Have
Yes.
a wonderful day.
Hand it to you.
Yeah, Kim's bringing it down. Pretty close to you this time. Full house, huh? Any commissioners with comments for the mayor? All right, thank you. All right, we'll move back up to our recognitions. I did want to put a reminder that if everybody could make sure your cell phones are turned off and on silent for us this morning. Thank you. All right, this is our Distinguished Budget Award from the Governmental Finance Officers Association. This was requested by our Finance Services Director, Mr. John Brower. Good morning, Mr. Brower and team.
Good morning, John Brower, Financial Services. Mr. Chair, it's always an honor to be before the board, but today I'm particularly proud to announce that the Government Finance Officers Association of the United States and Canada, FGOA, has once again conferred the nationally recognized Distinguished Budget Presentation Award to Flagler County's annual budget for fiscal year ending September 30th, 2025. This marks the 16th straight year the county has received this honor, showing the board's steadfast commitment to not only achieving but maintaining excellence in governmental budgeting. This overall award represents the highest form of recognition in governmental budgeting and is a significant achievement for our county. More importantly, however, along with the very strong growth of the general fund's fund balance over the last 5 years and aggressively managing and restructuring the county's debt over the same time frame, this award is yet another strong indicator of the board's commitment to fiscal strength and a testament to its dedication towards sound financial management. The Office of Management and Budget team, OMB, takes pride in not just creating the county's award-winning book, but in challenging each other to improve it each year to reach a national level of prominence never before seen in our history. To illustrate this further, 2 years ago, the county's FY23 budget received special recognition for our capital program. The next year, the FY24 budget received special recognition again, but this time it was for our strategic goals and strategies. Now, for the third year in a row, our FY25 budget has received special recognition for yet another reason, this time our long-range operating financial plan. So for 3 years in a row, the GFOA has taken the relatively rare additional step of highlighting areas of our budget that particularly stand out among the best in the country. The amazing part is that each year the accolades have been for a different, distinct part of our budget. Your dedicated Office of Management and Budget team include OMB analysts Michael Catalano and Phoebe LeBlanc, senior OMB analysts Amanda Gilbert and Brandy Allen, and your OMB manager Brian Eichinger. It's their hard work, critical thinking, and vision that continues to raise the bar for our county's budget. Finally, this award is unique in many ways. One of the many favorite things that it deeply involves input from every department across our organization, working with OMB and administration as they create and fine-tune the most important, most visible, comprehensive tool we have to offer our citizens. Certainly, it's a budget book, but it's also a policy document, a financial plan, an operations guide, and a communication device. We believe that the better it is, the more transparent we are, the more trust we earn, and the better we are serving our citizens. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much. Appreciate having your team with you today as well. And 3 years in a row of different highlighted areas of excellence is pretty impressive. That's very good. Anybody on the commission with any comments for the team?
Well, no, it's just always a pleasure to have you up here because you know how important we think you are.
Thank you.
And you take care of the treasure of this county, and you do a damn good job of it. So it's a pleasure to have you up here. Congratulations.
The team here does it.
Yeah, I look forward
Read the
to
words.
my first budget year. I have to say, transitioning from private sector to government is a little different, and you're bearing with me, and I just want to say thank you. Your reports and everybody in the budget area have responded well, on time, and a little more information, but I'm going to get through it, and I just want to say thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Well, thank you. Come on up. Let's get a picture. Thank you all. Commissioner Hanson, I'm going to call on you again. Every time we have the finance team up here, Commissioner Hanson has a little quote about the most important thing. Do you want to repeat it or? Yeah. No, it's the most important role that we have commissioners have is the.
Well, we talk about tax collector collects it. And
That's right.
And we spend it.
And that's our most important role is the
that's-
efficient distribution and use of taxpayer money. And
And we're good at it.
All right. Again, thank you to the finance team, and thank you, Mr. Brower. Our second recognition is going to be presented by Fire Chief Michael Tucker, Fire Rescue Department. This is the Flagler County Fire Rescue Life Saving Award. Chief Tucker. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, Chair, members of the Commission. It is always an honor and a pleasure to come before you, and anytime I get to brag about, the men and women of Flagler County Fire Rescue. It's a good day. So I just want to, quickly walk through. We've got 3 different incidents that were involved in today's awards presentation. So one of the challenges with presenting these awards and giving you all just a little bit of background is a lot of times there's information we can't necessarily share. So we tend to, condense it down to the most relevant points. But the first one actually involved 5 different members, of our team. And one of the challenges is that because sometimes they're on duty and they're on the other side of the county, we can't get them here for this award. But the first one I want to present today involves firefighter paramedic Zach Suarez and firefighter paramedic Sean, Walker. And just to give you a little bit of background, what I can to the incident is this involved a shooting that had happened on a second floor, of a condominium. So there was a lot of nuances on trying to deliver patient care, move the patient, make sure that the interventions that were being delivered weren't interrupted, because that's one of the things. It's a major challenge was when we stop something and we have to restart it again. It just continues to to spiral downward. So for the crew for this one, they delivered obviously excellent patient care. Moved the patient from the second floor down to the rescue unit and subsequently off to the hospital where there was a positive outcome. The patient survived. But what we found was interesting about this call was that after it was over, the law enforcement officer came to the station to visit the crews and to compliment them on the service that they delivered and how exceptional he thought that they did working all the way through. And as you can tell, sometimes police officers and firefighters, we don't give each other compliments a lot. We enjoy jabbing each other, a lot, but it speaks volumes, for them to come by and to make that, that statement to us. So I want to go ahead and present actual, our life-saving awards to firefighter paramedic Zach Suarez. And firefighter paramedic Sean Walker. Paramedic Suarez is actually one of our newer members to the organization, and this is not his first time being in front of you for a life-saving, award. He has been a phenomenal asset, to the organization and a great addition. So we're proud of him. Firefighter paramedic Sean Walker is one of our, obviously, he's rescue supervisor. He is a flight paramedic, and he is also a member of the county's SWAT team, where he provides support to the members of the FCFO SWAT team, as well. The second incident, it's not your show anymore.
Yes.
Okay. What was interesting about this call is that it actually happened on the west side of the county. And this speaks to the reason why we have firefighters on fire engines, because obviously in that part of the county, we do not have a rescue. Those firefighters that are paramedics that are on the engine are the first line of advanced life support delivery to the citizens. And they were actually called to a 52-year-old gentleman, and upon arrival, they found that he was in cardiac arrest, respiratory arrest. And they had been told that this was an asthma patient, and it turned out not to be an asthma patient. This was a fentanyl overdose. And there's a lot of times that we start off, we read the notes, we're told things by 911 callers, and by the time we get on scene sometimes, that's not what's happening. So they walked in thinking one thing and had to go an entirely different direction. This call in particular involved, firefighter John Raffo, firefighter paramedic now, correct? Not quite. Not quite, okay. He still has to take his state paramedic exam. So firefighter EMT Joshua Brands, and then firefighter Lieutenant Jason Forte, and firefighter paramedic Jason Feldman, and firefighter Lieutenant Jeff Olson. So this call got pretty intense, pretty quick. So again, I'm going to go ahead and give the life-saving awards if I can get them turned around in the right direction. To firefighter paramedic John Raffo, firefighter EMT, soon-to-be firefighter paramedic Joshua Brands. Firefighter Lieutenant Jeff Olson. Firefighter Raffer and Lieutenant Olson are some of the most senior people we have, in the organization. And obviously, Joshua is one of our newest members, so he's got some great tutelage, underneath him. So, obviously, Commissioners, we thank you so much for giving us the opportunity to come before you, present the men and women that do such a phenomenal job in serving the citizens of Flagler County. And we, as always, we thank you for the support that you give us so that we can do the things that we need to do to make a difference in the lives of the people within Flagler County. So, thank you.
Thank you. Any comments? Anybody want to say anything? Come on up for the picture. I also want to just say a few things that, I appreciate, Chief, anytime we have to celebrate these and highlight these fine gentlemen and ladies that are part of your crew. It's a pleasure. So thank you for bringing them forward.
I also want to thank, Chief, I want to thank you for having a couple of your staff over at the Vincent's Clubhouse event at European Village. Seeing the children playing and learning to be firemen was a really great experience. I know how wonderful. And thank you all for what you're doing to save the lives you do. Thank you.
Got to have that smile really quickly.
Okay, we're going to move on to the remainder of our proclamations. The next one is Fair Housing Month, April 2025. This was requested by Joseph Hegedus, our Health and Human Services Director. And I'm going to go ahead and read this one this morning. Welcome.
Morning.
This is a proclamation of the Flagler County Board of County Commissioners proclaiming April 2025 as Fair Housing Month in Flagler County, Florida. Whereas April 11th, 2025 marks the 57th anniversary of the passage of the Fair Housing Act, and whereas the United States government recognizes the month of April as Fair Housing Month to commemorate the Fair Housing Act of 1968. And whereas diverse, inclusive communities strengthen our social fabric, economy, health, and environment. And whereas Flagler County is committed to upholding the mission and intent of the Fair Housing Act by fostering equal access to housing and promoting inclusive communities. And whereas Flagler County, in collaboration with the City of Palm Coast, the City of Bunnell, Mid-Florida Housing Partnership, local housing resource agencies, and fair housing advocates will conduct a public education and outreach campaign to raise awareness of fair housing protections and promote equitable housing opportunities. And whereas as part of this commitment, Flagler County will participate in the facilitation of a housing fair with the theme, The Act in Action, at the Palm Coast Community Center on April 12th, 2025, from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m., open to all Flagler County residents. Now therefore be it proclaimed by the Flagler County Board of County Commissioners that April 2025 is hereby designated as Fair Housing Month in Flagler County, Florida, affirming the county's commitment to fair housing and inclusivity. The board encourages public and private entities to engage in activities that promote and uphold equal housing opportunities for all residents and prospective residents of Flagler County. Adopted this 7th day of April 2025, attested by Tom Bexley and Chair Andrew Dance. If I could have a motion from the board.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve Flagler County, or the proclamation stating that April 2025 is Fair Housing Month.
Second.
A motion by Commissioner Hanson, seconded by Commissioner Pennington. All those in favor signify with aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right. Congratulations again. Welcome.
Thank you, Commissioner, Chair, the rest of the commission. We appreciate the opportunity to be here before you this morning, acknowledging Fair Housing Month. As you mentioned, the act was passed many, many years ago, but we still face housing inequity. and issues throughout the country and in our community as well. So we appreciate you taking a moment to acknowledge this and ensuring that everybody has an opportunity to find safe housing free from discrimination, and that our community supports that effort. Sorry, my name is Joe Hegedus, Health and Human Services Director. I'm here also with Devry Paradowski, who's our Housing Services Manager, and she will take a moment to talk about the housing fair that's coming up that you mentioned as well.
Good morning. Thank you, Commissioner. I'm Devry Paradowski, Housing Program Manager with Health and Human Services. Thank you for this proclamation. This year, we are proud to carry out that message forward through the theme of our upcoming event, the Act in Action. So on this Saturday, April 12th, from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. at the Palm Coast Community Center, Mid-Florida Housing Partnership, in collaboration with Flagler County, the City of Palm Coast, and the City of Bunnell, will host the 2025 Housing Fair, and it will bring those principles to life by providing direct access to housing tools, resources, and information. So this fair is open to renters, home buyers, and homeowners, and it will feature workshops on home maintenance, credit, financial planning, and estate planning. There will be over 50 exhibitors at this event, including Flagler County SHIP, the Extension, Palm Coast Community Development, and the Flagler County Emergency Operations Center. So we will have a special appearance from the property appraiser, Jay Gardner, to talk about property tax exemptions. And so this is more than just a resource fair. It's a hands-on opportunity to make our housing systems more accessible, transparent, and actionable for the people who live here. So we invite the public to join us this Saturday and experience the Act in Action, because fair housing is more than policy. It is progress in motion. So thank you.
Thank you. Come on up for a picture. Yep, come on up.
Oh, look at we got the triple stripes.
It is my favorite song. It took me a minute to remember it.
I'll do this now.
Right in the middle. Come on in.
Hi, Joe. She's fast. You don't sleep enough.
Don't blink.
Thank you, Joseph and Devry. And again, Devry, I appreciate all the hard work you put in. My time with AHAC, Devry's a tireless worker for the county, so thank you. Next proclamation is Public Safety Telecommunications Week, April 13th through 19th, 2025, requested by Christina Mortimer, the Flagler County Sheriff Department. Ms. Pennington will read this proclamation.
This is a proclamation of the Flagler County Board of County Commissioners designating the week of April 13th through 19th as National Public Safety Telecommunications Week in Flagler County. Whereas emergencies can occur at any time that require law enforcement, fire, or emergency medical services, and whereas when an emergency occurs, the prompt response of law enforcement officers, firefighters, and emergency medical personnel is critical to the protection of life and preservation of the property. And whereas the safety of our law enforcement officers, firefighters, and emergency medical personnel is dependent upon the quality and accuracy of information obtained from citizens who telephone the Flagler County Communications Center. And whereas public safety telecommunicators are the first and most critical contact our citizens have with emergency services, and whereas public safety telecommunicators are the single vital link for our law enforcement officers, firefighters, and emergency medical personnel by monitoring their activities by radio, providing them information, and ensuring their safety. And whereas public safety telecommunicators of the Flagler County Communications Center have contributed substantially to the apprehension of criminals, suppression of fires, and treatment of patients. And whereas each communications employee has exhibited compassion, understanding, and professionalism during their performance on their job this past year. Now therefore, the Flagler County Board of County Commissioners hereby proclaim the week of April 13th, 19th, 2025 as National Public Safety Telecommunication Week in Flagler County, in honor of the men and women whose diligence and professionalism keep our city and citizens safe. Adopted this 7th day of April 2025 and attested by Tom Pexley, our clerk, and our chair, Andrew Dance. Chair, I'd like to make a motion to approve the proclamation designating the week of April 13th, 19th as National Public Safety Telecommunication Week.
Second.
Who seconded on this side? Okay. Motion by Commissioner Pennington, seconded by Commissioner Carney. All those in favor signify with aye.
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 Congratulations, welcome.
Good morning, Chair. Mark Strobridge, Flagler County Sheriff's Office. And on behalf of Sheriff Rick Staley, who had a significant conflict, I'd like to introduce to you really the unseen first responder in this entire process, our director of that team, Christina Mortimer.
Welcome, good morning.
Thank you. Good morning. Director Mortimer, or Christina Mortimer, Director of the Communications Center. This morning I have with me Janice Cacavelli. She's our training supervisor. She is in charge of training all of our new hires. It's about a year that training takes before they are released to a squad to work on their own. And with Janice is actually one of her trainees, Megan Flores. She's newer to the comm center, still in training, so we're excited to have her. I am so excited, or so thankful, to live in a community and work for an agency that's very supportive of our 911 profession. Sadly, on the state and national level, 911 dispatchers are defined as clerical workers, secretaries, and not first responders. We don't just take phone calls, send help, and then hang up the phone. We go through extensive training to be able to provide life-saving instructions and help keep people safe. For example, last year a resident came by our comm center to ask to meet the person that saved his life, which was a 911 dispatcher. The resident came to express his gratitude to the dispatcher because his doctor explained to him that if it wasn't for the quick actions for CPR guidance when he had a cardiac arrest episode at the park, he wouldn't be alive today. This is just one example of the amazing work that our dispatchers do, and one that I'm so very proud of. Another critical reason I'm so passionate about dispatchers getting defined as first responders is the immense trauma and stress that comes with this job. It's very difficult to put into words to those who have never done the job how difficult this job can be. However, I'm going to share some personal experiences that may help paint the picture of some of the calls that we take. One of the most difficult calls that I've ever had to take was from a mother who found her baby face down in a pool. Despite all the efforts, the baby didn't survive, and there was nothing more that could be done. I can promise you I'll never forget the sounds of that mother's screams. It's something I'll always hear. Or the call from the daughter who just called because she found her father deceased in his bed when she went to go check on him. I guided her through CPR. She did absolutely amazing in everything that she could do, but unfortunately, it was too late, and there was nothing else that could be done. After that call, all I could think about was how this caller sounded about the same age I was when my father passed away. However, the hardest call I ever took was from one of our own deputies who was calling for help for a fellow officer who was suffering from a heart attack on duty. I didn't know who the officer was at the time of the call. It didn't matter, they're all family. However, it wasn't until I heard his name being screamed in the background that I realized it was my husband's best friend. It was the uncle to my children. He ended up dying in the line of duty, and I could promise you that moment has forever changed me. Imagine hearing those types of calls and still have to be in the same category as a secretary or clerical worker. When people ask why we still do this profession despite all the stress, the answer is simple. It's our calling. Despite what we're recognized as, we're going to be here, we're going to continue to answer the call, and we'll continue to serve our community. We know how supportive this community is, and I thank you, and thank you for this proclamation.
Thank you. Trainee.
Mystery. Wow. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. Thank you. Our next proclamation is for Crime Victims' Rights Week, April 6th through 12th, 2025, requested by Brianna Miller, Victims Advocate, Flagler County Sheriff's Department. Good morning. Microphone right there. There you go.
Good morning.
Good morning.
My name's Deanna Ewell, and I am a victim advocate with the Flagler County Sheriff's Office. Brianna Miller is here with me. Aaron is here from the Family Life Center to help support us, and also Donna Kearney from the Flagler Beach Police Department. I was not prepared to talk. Is there anybody else that would like to say something? I just want to thank you for acknowledging Victims Crime Week and Victim Rights Week, and
Well, Ms. Commissioner Richardson has the proclamation
Thank
she's
you.
going to read.
Are you ready?
yes.
Okay. This proclamation from the Board of County Commissioners proclaiming April 6th to 12th, 2025 as Crime Victims' Rights Week in Flagler County. Whereas the week of April 6th to 12th, 2025 is designated as National Crime Victims' Rights Week, a time to recognize the accomplishment of the victims' rights movement and reflect on how far we have come in ensuring justice for all victims of crime. And whereas the Flagler County Advocate this year's theme, Kinship, Connecting Survivors, Healing Communities, emphasizes the importance of recognizing that shared humanity should be at the center of supporting all survivors of crime and victim crimes. Whereas the Flagler County Advocate Alliance and collaborating agencies and partners are committed to creating a victim service and criminal justice response that assists all victims of crime during Crime Victims' Rights Week and throughout the year. And whereas crime affects individual families and communities in profound and varied ways, often leaving lasting physical, emotional, and social changes. And whereas the concept of kinship underscores the connections that build the bridges to support services and shared strengths among survivors, advocates, and communities. And whereas kinship is the foundation of victim advocacy, inspiring trauma-informed care that meets survivors where they are. And whereas through kinship, we build peer networks and community alliances that empower survivors, foster resilience, and often pathways to heal. And whereas kinship reminds us of the strength that comes from connection, the importance of listening to every voice, and the power we have to create lasting change when we work together. Now, therefore, the Flagler County Board of Commissioners hereby proclaim this week, April 6th to 12th, 2025, as Crime Victim Rights Week in Flagler County and reaffirm our commitment to creating a victim service and criminal justice response that assists all the victims of crime during Crime Victims Rights Week and throughout the year, and expressing our sincere gratitude and appreciation for those community members, victim service providers, and criminal justice professionals who are committed to improving our response to all victims of crime so that they may find relevant assistance, support, justice, and peace. Adopted this 7th day of April, 2025. Signed by Tom Bexley, the Clerk of Courts and Comptroller, and Andrew Dance, our Chair of Flagler County Board of Commissioners. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Could you state a motion for that so we can approve it?
I'll make a motion to approve this.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion by
second.
Commissioner Richardson, seconded by Commissioner Pennington. All those in favor signify with aye.
Aye.
Again, thank you. Did anybody else have anything to say? Welcome, sir.
Thank you. Joe Barilli, Chief Deputy at the Sheriff's Office. I just want to say thank you to the ladies. They do an amazing job following up with these victims. And unless you're a victim of a crime, you don't realize how much they do, but they do an amazing job every day.
Yes, sir. Agreed. Thank you. Thank you for being here. And do you have the proclamation you want? If we're going to come take a picture, so if you can come up, I'll hand you the proclamation.
You did fine.
Thank you, sir. One more. All right.
Thank you.
Thank
so
you.
much. Thank you so much.
Okay.
Thank you.
And our next proclamation is for Sexual Assault Awareness Month, April 2025, requested by Erin Shannon, the Sexual Assault Services Coordinator for Flagler Volusia. And Ms. Pennington is reading this proclamation.
Yes, this is a proclamation of the Flagler County Board of County Commissioners proclaiming April 2025 as Sexual Assault Awareness Month in Flagler County. Whereas Sexual Assault Awareness Month calls attention to the fact that sexual assault violence is widespread and it impacts every person in this community. And whereas rape, sexual assault, and sexual harassment impact our community, and statistics show that 1 in 5 women and 1 in 33 men will be raped at some point in their lives, that 1 in 4 boys and 1 in 3 girls will experience a sexual assault before the age of 18. Youth ages 11 through 17 are 2.5 times more as likely to be victims of rape or sexual assault. And on campus, 1 in 5 women and 1 in 16 men are sexually assaulted. And whereas during 2024, the Family Life Center, as the certified rape crisis center for Flagler County, provided 61 sexual assault-related community education events, 529 supportive services, and they provided 284 hours of trauma counseling for survivors of sexual assault and their families living in Flagler County. Whereas the Start by Believing Public Awareness Campaign, a program of End of Violence Against Women International, is designed to improve the responses of friends, family members, community professionals, so they can help sexual assault victims access supportive resources and engage the criminal justice system. And whereas Flagler County joins advocates and communities across the country because we are the strongest when we raise our voices together to change the culture to prevent sexual violence. Prevention requires addressing the root cause and social norms that allow sexual violence to exist. April is Sexual Assault Awareness Month, and each day of the year is an opportunity to create change for the future. And whereas Flagler County Advocate Alliance, comprised of victim advocates from Bunnell Police Department, the Family Life Center, Flagler Beach Police Department, Flagler County Sheriff's Office, and the Office of the State's Attorney, 7th Judicial Circuit, is hereby dedicated to strengthening victims and survivors in the aftermath of crime, building resilience in our communities and our victim responders, and working for a better future for all victims and survivors. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed by the Flagler County Board of County Commissioners that we hereby proclaim April 2025 as Sexual Assault Awareness Month in Flagler County, and we do hereby encourage all citizens to support the Start by Believing Public Awareness campaign. This is adopted today, the 7th of April, 2025, and attested by Tom Pexley, the clerk, and our chair, Andrew Dance. Thank you. Chair, I'd like to make a motion to approve the proclamation proclaiming April 2025 as Sexual Assault Awareness Month.
Second.
I have a motion by Commissioner Pennington, seconded by Commissioner Richardson. All in favor signify with aye.
Aye.
All right, and welcome again.
Thank you. Thank you. My name is Erin Shannon. I'm the Sexual Assault Services Coordinator for Family Life Center. Sexual assault is a pervasive and devastating crime. It violates trust, shatters lives, and leaves deep, lasting scars. It's not about sex. It's about power and control, and it happens far more often than we realize. We often hear statistics, 1 in 3 women, 1 in 6 men. But these numbers are far more than just figures. They represent real people with real pain and real stories. Sexual assault awareness is not just about understanding the problem. It's about changing the culture that allows it to persist. It's about believing survivors, challenging harmful myths, and creating safer spaces. It's about education, consent, and bystander intervention. We must teach our children about healthy relationships and respect. We must challenge the toxic masculinity that fuels violence. We must hold perpetrators accountable, and we must support survivors on their journey to healing. Awareness is the first step. Let's move beyond awareness to action. Let's build a world where everyone feels safe, respected, and empowered. Let's break the silence and let's end sexual violence.
Thank you very much. Anybody else? All right, if you can come up for a picture, thank you.
Is this counting steps? I don't know. Are you clicking? Are you clicking? I'm so happy.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, thank you. And our final proclamation will be National Library Week, which is April 6th through 12th, 2025, presented by Holly Albanese, Deputy County Administrator and Library Director. This will be read by Commissioner Hanson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. A proclamation of the Flagler County Board of County Commissioners proclaiming April 6th through 12th, 2025 as National Library Week in Flagler County. Whereas libraries spark creativity, fuel imagination, and inspire lifelong learning, offering a space where individuals of all ages can explore new ideas and be drawn to new possibilities. And whereas libraries serve as vibrant community hubs, connecting people with knowledge, technology, and resources while fostering civic engagement, critical thinking, and lifelong learning. And whereas libraries provide access to books, digital tools, and innovative programming, ensuring that all individuals have the support they need to learn, connect, and thrive. And whereas libraries partner with schools, businesses, and organizations, connecting the dots to maximize resources, increase efficiency, and expand access to essential services, strengthening the entire community. And whereas libraries empower job seekers, entrepreneurs, and lifelong learners by providing access to resources, training, and opportunities that support career growth and economic success. And whereas libraries nurture young minds through story times, STEAM programs, and literacy initiatives, fostering curiosity and a love of learning that lasts a lifetime. And whereas dedicated librarians and library workers provide welcoming spaces that inspire discovery, collaboration, and creativity for all. And whereas libraries, librarians, and library workers across the country are joining together to celebrate National Library Week under the theme, Drawn to the Library. Now therefore be it proclaimed by the Flagler County Board of County Commissioners that they hereby proclaim April 6th through 12th, 2025 as National Library Week and encourage all residents to visit their library, explore its resources, and celebrate all the ways that the library draws us together as a community. Adopted this 7th day of April, 2025, attested to by Tom Bexley, Clerk of the Court and Comptroller, and signed by the Chairman of our County Commission, Andy Dance. Mr. Chairman, I move that we make April 6th through 12th National Library Week in Flagler County.
Second.
I have a motion by Commissioner Hanson, seconded by Commissioner Pennington. All those in favor signify with aye.
Aye.
All right. Hello, Ms. Albanese. How are you today?
Good morning, Commissioners. I want to thank you for the proclamation. I have here today, I didn't say my title, Library Director. I have here today with me my Assistant Director, Joe Salome, and the Branch Manager, Lisa Catalano. I know they don't want to talk, but I have no problem with that. So I'll just say a few words because I'll be back in front of you guys probably at the second meeting to give you a full update on the library. So I don't want to go into all those details. Instead, just thank you for the opportunity. I want to talk about that theme real quick, Drawn to the Library. I think this past weekend we had Book Fest at the library. We had almost 30 authors, local authors there, and over 700 people came to the library to see the local authors and everything that they had available. So I think that theme really represents what happened this weekend for sure. On Sunday, the Friends of the Library hosted a volunteer luncheon for our volunteers and a luncheon for the staff to say thank you to them as well. We had about 40 volunteers there, so we're very pleased to have that. And we thank the Friends of the Library for that. And lastly, I just want to say, if you happen to be at the library tomorrow, Tuesday the 8th is National Library Workers' Day, specifically during National Library Week. It would be great, whoever's there, to just let the staff know that you appreciate everything that they do. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you for being here. On behalf of the library, appreciate you being here. And if you wanted to come up for a picture, that'd be great.
Commissioner. I don't know what it, no, don't be sorry, be happy. Cover Kim. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Congratulations. Congratulations.
Go East.
You know, Mr. Chair, I think that makes me think back to college and graduate school and how many hours I spent in the library trying to get a degree and then the master's degree. So it was
Time well spent.
time well spent. Yeah, it was. Thanks.
All right. I want to thank everybody for the proclamations today. We have one presentation. This was at the request of our commissioners from an item that was on the agenda a few weeks ago, and we're pleased to have Dr. Gwendolyn Sneed, our medical examiner for our Flagler and St. John's, and she has a brief presentation, a few slides. And good morning. Thanks for being here.
Good morning. Thank you for having me in such short notice. And good morning to all. I'm Gwendolyn Sneed. I'm the Chief Medical Examiner of the District 23 Medical Examiner's Office. There was a question about a month ago about the percentages for our budget for Flagler County. I feel, I didn't include this in our presentation, but being that I have members of our community, I feel that I need to explain a little bit about who we are.
If you could move the mic up a little bit, and then there you go. Talk right into it.
Is it this one here? Oh, there we go. So the District 23 Medical Examiner's Office is the medical examiner office that serves the counties of St. John's, Putnam, and Flagler counties. This was determined many years ago after the Medical Examiners Act was created, which basically delineates who the cases that come through our office. So those cases are basically cases that fall under Statute 406, and we see non-natural deaths. So pretty much we look at everybody that dies from an accidental manner, suicidal, homicidal, and those who die from natural diseases, but that they don't have a physician within the established range by the statute to actually certify their deaths. That's the people that we get to see in our office. So in 1981, it was decided that the cases from our area, which were being served by Jacksonville, Volusia, and Gainesville, would now be served by the District 23, and we're located in St. Augustine. Our physical address is in St. Augustine. So based on that, there was an interlocal agreement which decided how each county would help fund the medical examiner's office and their services. And that's why I'm here today. The budget pretty much was decided way back then that they would have the operating budget from the medical examiner's office and the annual building cost. and that they were going to have a calculation to get this budget. And what they decided was that we're going to have the last 3 years of cases divided by the total number of cases. So the percentage of the budget is going to fluctuate year to year based on the amount of cases. For the building, it was decided that it will be the percentage times, for 84,834. So a percentage of that 84,000 would be included in the budget. So what I've included here is a slide showing how many cases we had in year 21, 22, and 23, which was what was used to determine the percentage for fiscal year 25. Now, we do not use 24, even though the interlocal agreement says it's the last 3 years, because at the time that we prepared the budget, year 24 is not finalized. So we go to the previous year. You can see that in 21, we had 99 cases out of 432, and it increased to 132 from Flagler County out of 458. And then in 23, we had 176 out of 543. So what we did was we used the 99, 132, 176 and divided by the total for the 3 years, and that gives us the 28.4% that we use of the total budget. On the next slide, you can see that the budget for 25 was determined to be $2,785,000. So you multiply the 28.4 by that, and then the building cost, and so that's how we arrived at $815,170. So if you notice that there was an increase, a significant increase from the previous year, it's because we requested a new medical examiner based on the increasing numbers that we have seen and the projections for future years. And that is how we came up with our budget. So if you have any questions, please feel free.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any questions?
I have a quick
Commissioner
question. You
Richardson.
said this is the budget for this year and future years. So is that meaning that it'll be stabilized at this point?
No. So the percentage is based on case numbers. So if we have higher percentage from Flagler County, you will see a higher numbers, you'll see a higher percentage. Traditionally, you have been between 23 and 28%. So we cannot predict the percentage for next year because we really can't predict how many people are going to die in Flagler County that will end up being medical examiner cases.
So it'll continue on the focus of how it's being done now?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
We're new. We're newbies.
okay.
So I don't think that our question was so much the validity of the medical examiner's office, but when we saw the increase and we're not made aware of the increase, therefore it wasn't reflected in our budget, which we're doing now.
Okay.
That was the surprise, was why didn't we have more time so that we could budget appropriately? So to budget on the side of being conservative, sounds like you guys bring it right down to the number, based on the number of deaths and cases. We kind of take a more conservative approach in our budgeting, but we still didn't have enough to cover it, so we had to make adjustments. So it's just a timing thing. I think more than anything, our budget cycle probably isn't the same as yours, and your numbers are probably released. So moving forward, the staff could probably take a little bit more conservative approach to doing that budget until we get the final number.
So all of this process is not done by me, it's done by the Office of Finance and Budget Management. What in the interlocal agreement, what it says is we are to provide all the other two counties the projected budget for the fiscal year by June 30th. And I believe I know that she sent that by June 30th, but I don't know if that matches your timing in preparing your budget.
Okay, great. Any other questions?
I have one question. The person count that you provide for the county, is that based on their address or where they pass at?
Per statute, a death in Flagler County that comes a medical examiner's case is someone that dies within the boundaries of
What's boundary?
right, the counties. So it can be people from out of state or visitors that die in our county that end up being a medical examiner case.
Or subsequently, a Flagler County resident could pass in another county, but it's not counted into your numbers.
Correct.
Oh, got it. Okay. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Great. Anybody else?
So I would say this is a shameless plug here. We work really, really hard on creating the annual report. I just finished the report for 24. It's going to be posted in our website within the next 2 weeks. And you can find a lot of really good information in there, not only how many people died in Flagler, but how many people died from accidental deaths, overdoses, suicides, homicides, all that information, ages, ranges, natural diseases, all that stuff. So please do look at our website because we do work really hard to get this information out to the public.
Can you share that website for our residents as well as the folks that will be viewing this virtually?
If you just enter District 23 Medical Examiner's Office, it will take you straight to our page, and you can see annual report on the top. Okay.
Thank you very much.
You're very
It's
welcome.
a pleasure having you. Thank you for waiting, and hopefully we'll see you again soon. If you have any information you want to share with us, we're happy to have you.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate you and your support of our office. Thank you.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you. All right, we're going to move into our first community outreach section of the agenda. This is a 30-minute time period allocated for public comment on any consent agenda item or topic not on the agenda. Each speaker will be allowed up to 3 minutes to address the commission. Speakers should approach the podium, identify themselves, and direct comments to the chair. And if you could line up in the aisle behind each other so we can keep this moving, that would be great. First speaker, please.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Angela Dawson. First of all, I'd like to thank you for removing from the agenda today consideration of accepting the $10 million grant from the Department of Commerce for the purpose of using that taxpayer money to give to Belvedere Terminals for its proposed fuel tank farm near hundreds of homes and the city's water treatment facility. It also would be close proximity to schools in the event of an explosion, fire, or leak. I realize, though, that this is a temporary reprieve for us until the Palm Coast City Council can review alternate sites to the one proposed. My hope is that the council ultimately rejects this project altogether, as city officials did in Ormond Beach not too long ago, and for similar reasons. My understanding of this taxpayer-funded grant is that it would go towards the acquisition of the land and development of this massive fuel storage facility. Again, this is the wrong place for it, as it directly abuts existing and already approved additional homes in the northwest section of Flagler County and is too close to our water supply, which would impact even more Flagler County residents than just those nearby. Belvedere Terminals is a startup with no track record on operating a facility of this size or scope, and the potential harm it poses is just too great of a risk to take. Adults and children alike who live nearby shouldn't have to be used as guinea pig test subjects. Further, there have been news reports that this proposed site is not currently owned by Belvedere Terminals, but that the land would have to be acquired and would be owned by Flagler County for the next 5 years. Without this grant, I would hope that Belvedere would kindly agree to move along to their next target on their list, having been rejected by the citizens and leaders of Ormond Beach and Volusia County. We need smart growth in Flagler County, and we welcome it. I'm aware that there are at least 2 big projects on the horizon, Magellan and Project X-Ray. It would create more jobs locally and not pose a threat to our health and safety. I urge you to reject this grant whenever it does resurface, and whatever other role that the commission is asked to play in regard to this project. Please just say no. Thank you.
Next speaker, please. Thank you.
Hello there. My name is Vicki Haley, and I believe that I'm a constituent of yours, Leanne. I'm here today in regards to the concern about the fuel farm. I also thank you for looking into further locations for it. It was interesting to hear all the speakers here today. I admire all of the emergency management workers and the call workers that spoke today. I was a little shocked by some of the hypocrisy going on in our nation and some of the things that were said here today about sexual assault and the leaders of our country who have been found liable of assaulting women and found liable of rape, leading our country. But that's on a side note. But in regards to the fuel farm, there's risk to our groundwater contamination, release of hazardous vapors, chemicals and particles into the air we breathe, explosions and fire. Fuel terminals and their potential hazards require expensive ongoing upgrades and firefighting and rescue operations, high initial costs and high ongoing costs. Fuel delivery trucks will need to pick up and deliver the fuel. This will involve heavily trafficked roads and community noise, adding to air pollution, and particularly in residential areas where we have elderly people and babies. The demand for fossil fuels has leveled off as increasing numbers of electric vehicles are twice as efficient as diesel and gas-powered vehicles appear on our roads. The integrity of physical containment facilities being proposed are touted to be advanced state-of-the-art. The same description applied to the nuclear reactor at 3 Mile Island, and that endangered and required the evacuation of thousands of people. Founded in 2017, Belvedere Terminals has no track record, no experience with facilities such as this one being proposed in Palm Coast. Group of Mexico owners of the rail line that supply the proposed fuel depot has responsibility in some 20 Superfunded sites and other locales where cancer is an epidemic. On July 9th, 2019, 3,000 liters of sulfuric acid spilled into the Sea of Cortez and Grupo Mexico-owned pipe near the city of Guaymas in northwestern Mexico. 3 people were injured, and videos appeared online documenting the sad and harrowing local damage to marine wildlife and consequence of the spill. Projections of potential tax income to Palm Coast and Flagler County cannot be substantiated. It is highly likely that the Belvedere and Grupo Mexico will seek tax abatements and an incentive to build in our community. I have more to say, and I'll be back.
Thank you.
We're not going away.
Good morning.
Good morning, Councilors, Chairman. My name is Narina Speaks, resident of Palm Coast, and I'm here alongside my fellow community members to express our strong opposition to the proposed location for the fuel terminal, for Belvedere Fuel Terminal, within our city limits, particularly so close to residential areas. First and foremost, the majority of Palm Coast residents, including myself, are against this dangerous facility to be placed within our city. Just the thought that fuel farm can be next to our homes, where our children play, our elders reside, fills us with outrage, fear, and deep concern. We cannot accept this severe risk that this facility will pose to most vulnerable members of our community. Secondly, we urge county to prioritize our safety and our well-being over financial gains. Valuing money above people is not only unacceptable. This is betrayal of a trust that we placed in you as our representatives. Thirdly, we must look at Grupo Mexico, parent of Belvedere Terminals. Grupo Mexico has track record of safety and environmental violations, $500 million in fines since 2000. Since 2017, they acquired railroads here in Flagler. They doubled their safety violations. In 2014, they are responsible for the worst mining disaster in history of Mexico. Dozens of towns were poisoned and 2 rivers. With such extended records of environmental disregard to safety of our communities. We cannot rely on them. They cannot be trustworthy. Lastly, I wanted to mention the critical infrastructure that is right next to it. It's not only our homes. We talk about 3 schools right next to it. We talk about water treatment facility. We have sport complex. We have new hospital. Folks in Somerset would have it 300 feet off of their backyards. Any explosion or any hazardous incident there could cause catastrophic consequences to these locations and people within them. In conclusion, we stand united in our opposition to this proposal. This is unacceptable to our safety. We ask that our safety and quality of life be prioritized. Please say no to fuel terminal in Palm Coast. Thank you for your time consideration.
Thank you.
Hi there, I'm Ron Long, Aldo Drive. Now the unpopular opinion. I really feel that this county needs to make sure that we do not let this enterprise, this opportunity slip by. I can appreciate Palm Coast's feelings, where it's at, the location. Favoretta might be a great spot. Who knows? We've got plenty of area along that line that we can put this thing, and I think it's important that we take advantage of it. We need to diversify our tax base by any way possible, and this is a reasonable exception. And keep in mind,
All right,
Fort
everybody.
Pierce.
Thank you.
I let you,
Be
talk.
Be respectful.
Jacksonville has approved this. Jacksonville is having theirs done. Fort Pierce is seconds away from approving theirs. So keep in mind that railroad they use is going to come right through here. So all the material you don't want in this county is still going to run right through the middle of this county every single day. And not only that, if you really knew all the other stuff that rode through on that railroad, this would not be a concern of yours. Lastly, I just think that, again, they've already scheduled 10 fuel farms throughout the state. This is going to happen. It's going to come through our county. I just think we need to make sure that this county, I can appreciate the city, but this county doesn't miss the opportunity for the revenue. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Good morning, Darlene Shelley, K-Section in Palm Coast. As outlined in my emails to you all on March 15th, I believe that sufficient legal notice was not provided as required for the airport zoning regulation ordinance
That's coming up later. You'll have to speak when that comes up.
to be heard today.
Yeah.
Okay.
This is public comment for items not on the agenda.
The topics that are brought up on that future ordinance to be heard today are the same concerns that the residents are bringing to your attention about Belvedere, the fuel depot. Will I be allowed to speak before the presentation or only after?
During public comment, when we go to public comment for that item. So you'll have plenty of time so that we can hear the rest of the public speakers that want to speak on items not on the agenda.
Okay, then I can just change the terminology of the excessive hazards, negative effects on our safety, health, and welfare of the Belvedere terminal, because they are the same as the safety, health, and welfare threats of excessive training aircraft. Excessive training aircraft is not on the agenda. Airport zoning regulations is. And I have so much important information from so many hours of research to present to you all. 3 minutes at 20 meetings wouldn't be enough to bring all those facts to you. I would request the opportunity to give a presentation in which all of the facts can be heard, all of the verbiage in the FDOT aviation guidelines that pertain to the protections of the local residents. The words have been cherry-picked to protect the airport, and I don't think that's acceptable.
You have to keep it outside the topic because you're interfering with the rest of the speakers that want to speak about other topics.
Right. Well, the topics are all intertwined. The subjects are the same. The safety, health, and welfare of the residents of Palm Coast and Bunnell and Flagler County matter, and you simply cannot allow these types of threats to our homes. It's not acceptable. It's untenable, and it's wrong. Thank you.
Thank you. Good morning.
Morning, Anna Jones. I'm here to say no to the fuel tanks, the overlay, and the terminal. The overlay,
The overlay is coming up at the next, it's on the agenda. This is for topics not on the
you're
agenda.
taking my time, so I cannot comment. This is public comment.
For
I'm
items
comparing
not on
it-
the agenda.
I'm comparing it to the fuel.
Then speak to the fuel farm only, because that item will come up and you'll have opportunity then.
This is toxic waste, and I'm comparing them to the same.
Okay?
So you're telling me I can't do that right now?
The overlay is on the agenda. You will have time during that item to speak to it. Right now, the rest of the people behind you want to speak about the fuel terminal.
Okay, well, the fuel terminal, they promised jobs. I don't know where the jobs are going to come from. They're going to promise economy and growth, where they're going to bring in $800,000 a year, but all the trucks every day, 24/7, is that going to cover the cost of repaving US 1 every other year? They say they follow strict EPA standards. We don't see that at the airport. There's toxic lead being dumped all over us. So I don't believe the EPA standards, and I don't believe it's going to be safe. And we say no.
Thank you.
To all of it.
Good morning.
Hi, good morning. My name is Lori Young, and I live in the Sawmill Branch community. I relocated to Flagler from Duval last year and fell in love with this beautiful area. I did see there was industrial land designated near my home, but I foolishly thought nothing hazardous would be allowed there due to its proximity to our water resources. I wanted to look back on the severe drought of 1998 and the wildfires that raged during that period of time. I was lucky. I lived in Jacksonville, and I only had to deal with choking smoke, ash pouring on my home, and almost no water pressure because there was no water left during that drought. Flagler County was on fire, and you could not control those flames. In fact, where I live now has scars from those wildfires, and now you want to build a fuel farm in the very same area. If you could not put the fires out then, how would you put them out tomorrow with millions of gallons of fuel added to the situation? I was wondering if perhaps God had allowed those terrible fires in 1998 so they would be a reminder to our government leaders of today of all that can go wrong that is outside of anyone's control. Please do not allow this project to move forward. There are no tax dollars worth the hazards that something of this nature brings to our community. This type of industry is dirty, it's smelly, and it's dangerous, and I'm very concerned about Belvedere itself. A good corporate citizen would not want to install a fuel farm so near homes where people are trying to raise their families. And I'd personally like to speak. I used to work in manufacturing, and I've seen Belvedere's ads with all the pristine white buildings, and I worked in a rail car environment, and it is nothing like that. And there are not $100,000 jobs to people who are pushing the rail cars to and fro. They're probably going to be around $60,000, $65,000. I've been in human resources 30 years, and I know that these $100,000 salaries have nothing to do with the blue-collar work that they're bringing to our community. But please don't bring this to our back door. I moved here to retire. I have all of my money invested in this house, and my heart is just absolutely broken because I can't afford to move again, and I don't want to live near this thing. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Good morning.
Hi, I'm James Dawson from Sawmill Creek, and I'm glad to say that I have the popular opinion. Building the Belvedere fuel tank farm makes no sense from either a safety or an economic stance. For one thing, it will tank already sinking home values in the vicinity. If the project is approved, every homeowner nearby immediately should ask the appraiser to run comps on neighborhoods that have suffered train derailment disasters and fuel storage explosions to demand property tax decreases. Unfortunately, those probably won't offset the increases in their homeowners' insurance rates. If homeowners suffer catastrophic decreases in value, increases in insurance bills, and health problems aggravated by increased pollution, it's not hard to imagine them filing a class action lawsuit seeking to force the county to buy every distressed property owner's home. Do you really want to fight that suit in court for years, all while trying to attract new business? Even the one and only person at last week's city council meeting who was not opposed to the fuel tank farm rattled off a whole list of expensive accommodations the project would require, mainly involving emergency services and the need for supplies such as fire-suppressing foam. Can you imagine how many millions of gallons of foam would be required to put out millions of gallons of gasoline and propane? I get the feeling that stuff isn't cheap. And I'm also very sure that the fire station in Palm Coast alone would not have the resources to put out that kind of conflagration, which means hiring more firefighters and paramedics. One last thing to think about. We now live in a country where insane domestic terrorists who vandalize Tesla's firebomb car dealerships and shoot a CEO are celebrated by the left. All it would take is one of those violent criminal psychopaths to turn an 11 million gallon fuel tank farm into an explosive political statement. If that happens, putting the perpetrator in jail won't do much good for anyone who lost their home or their life, because politicians put ground zero next door to residential communities. Thank you.
Good morning.
Hi, good morning. My name is Kelly Easton, and I live in the Sawmill Branch subdivision, just a couple of miles from the proposed fuel plant site. I want to begin by sincerely thanking the city and council leaders for pressing the pause and taking time to assess whether this site is truly the right location for a heavy industrial project. Let me be clear, I support economic growth. I support smart industry development that brings opportunity and progress to our city. But I also believe growth must be responsible and it must respect the community it impacts. For countless reasons already voiced by so many residents, I strongly oppose Belvedere Farms at the PV grade location. This is an area surrounded by neighborhoods, families, children, homeowners who have invested their lives and their futures here. This is not a remote industrial zone. This is the heart of a residential community. The risks far outweigh any potential benefits. We're talking about health and safety of people, about the value of our homes, about our peace of mind. These are not abstract concerns, they are real consequences that residents will face every single day if this project moves forward. Maybe these neighborhoods weren't meant to be here years ago. Maybe past administrators didn't plan perfectly, but two wrongs do not make a right. It is not our burden to bear. We should not have to pay for past mistakes with the health and safety and quality of our lives. So I ask each of you to take a moment and consider this personally. Would you want a fuel farm in your backyard, in your community where your children play and your family sleeps, where you've invested your hard-earned money? Do the right thing for the people, for our neighborhoods, and for the future of Palm Coast. Say no to the fuel farm. It doesn't belong here, and deep down, we all know it. Thank you.
Good morning.
Good morning. My name is Lori Ratto. I am also a resident of Sawmill Branch. I'm new to Palm Coast as a resident, but I have worked in and around this area for most of my life. In fact, I've hired people that live here in the community for the different companies I've worked for, And in 1998, with the fires, the company I worked for used all of my representatives' vans to come bring some fire relief to all the workers in those tents. So I've seen firsthand the fire work that from the 90s and what that was to the community. There were 40,000 evacuated now. Should an event happen because of the fuel farm, we're not looking at 40,000 evacuations. There's 110,000 right now in Palm Coast alone. Since the year 2000, Palm Coast has grown 200%. What is it going to be in another 25 years when the life of those fuel tanks have exceeded their life? What are we going to do then for the community? And what about in 1998, the National Guard had to be called in. What mitigation is in place for such a catastrophe? It's not just a problem for the immediate residents of that area, but it could potentially be a problem for Flagler and surrounding counties as well as the state of Florida, because US 1 is the alternate evacuation route for 95. And I do remember what that's like through all the hurricanes when we've had to evacuate. And even if Belvedere came in with the latest and greatest of all of its super special, better than anyone's ever seen protective equipment and precautions, it cannot stand a chance against external risk factors that have to be considered. In 2015, there was an earthquake in California that potentially blew up a fuel farm there, and all of that can be seen online. And so these are the factors that have to be taken into consideration. I also want to say $800,000 and 30 jobs is nothing. Let's look at the real numbers. 110,000 people today in Palm Coast, that's $7 and some change a year per person. Is that all we're worth? If you break that down to just 1/4 of those people, which is probably a more realistic number, 27,000, that's only $30 a year. Is that all we're worth? So I'm asking you to consider saying no. We do need industry. Let's bring in real industry that can bring in real jobs. Thank you.
Hello, my name's Pat.
Morning.
Good morning. Thank you for taking the time to hear us today. I'm from Sawmill also.
I'm sorry, we didn't get the name.
Pat Mooney.
Thank you, sir.
I'm not going to just reiterate all the facts that everyone so elegantly presented to you, but obviously, I just can't comprehend why in God's name would somebody put an oil depot next to a water refinery. That's mind-boggling to me, number one. And number two is this Grupo of Mexico, which owns Belvedere, like so eloquently presented, has numerous track records of bad business. And I was in the business sector for over 35 years, and before I did business with somebody, I made sure I knew who I was doing business with. Why don't we look, I'm just suggesting, look up the CEO of Belvedere. Kind of interested on this guy, what this guy's been accused of, and actually found guilty of bribing somebody. So I would suggest you really look into this, because this is not good for the community. Like people said, I moved here from New York, blah, blah, blah. You got the nice bike trails, the beaches, and now you want to put an oil refinery here? I mean, it's not good business. It's not good for anybody. And I'm sure you all agree with what I'm saying. And I thank you for not even let them bring the $10 million and postpone it for a while. But please say no to this. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Sandra Seitz, and I live in Palm Coast. And I, too, am not going to go over what everybody previously said. I just wanted to reiterate the abysmal track record of Grupo Mexico. In the last 25 years, they've had environmental-related offenses where the total penalty they were required to pay was over $450 million. They've bought up Florida East Coast Railway, which is a vital artery in our region's economy and transportation network. It runs from Jacksonville to Miami, and they want to put these farms all along that route. It's a recipe for disaster. Please vote against them. Thank you.
Thank you. Any additional public comment? There's one spot open. Morning.
Good morning. Mark Webb, Palm Coast. I think what, for me anyway, is missing in this conversation is why did the state tie this grant to the counties? The responsibility, the partnership of Flagler County in this case, to partner and work with the viability of Palm Coast, for example, which we've heard that conversation has been going on for months. And I believe Belvedere was motivated to look for option 2 after Volusia was very clear over the last year that they were not going to be successful. And so behind closed doors, it appears that this conversation of this facility has now become clear, crystal, and apparent to the citizens. But as Flagler County, you have a due diligence and a responsibility, all of us, and to try to find a place that can bring prosperity, value, and improvement to us, the citizens. Now, I agree, Palm Coast, as a bedroom community, has its challenges for this facility. But there may be other areas in Flagler, in Bunnell, the spur, the line goes right down US 1 through heavily wooded areas over by the sheriff's station and other areas that could be options available. And I believe the county should be reaching out and talking to other areas because it's not going to win in Palm Coast. It's no longer a viable issue. But it's your responsibility to bring business, prosperity, jobs, and those things here. And I appreciate that part of it. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, that's the end of the community outreach section. We are, if it's okay with the board, we're going to take a brief break, 5 minutes, if that's okay, and we'll come back.
Sure.
So at this point, the community outreach portion is over. Appreciate everybody's comments, and we'll be back after a brief break so we can go through the rest of the agenda. Thank you. That's okay. Thank you, everybody, for your time as we took a brief break. We are going to bring it back to the board for some questions that they have that came out of public comments. So who had some questions that they wanted to bring to administration? Or Ms. Pennington?
I have questions, but they're not necessarily from public comment, but as we're getting through this, and I just maybe takeaway for staff regarding the fuel farm. I had the opportunity to watch some of the Jacksonville discussions and read up there, and there were some good points made. One is, could we get the information to the board about our comp plan, current and future, what our coverage reads on heavy versus light industrial? Do we have any definition regarding flammable material and transfer within heavy and light industrial zoning areas? If not, I think that's something critical to look at that we have in there, and we define what could be heavy industrial areas going forward, because that ended up being an issue with Jacksonville. They didn't necessarily, they have fuel farms there now, but some areas zoned industrial really aren't suited for fuel farms. And so with their fuel farms in Jacksonville, they've had 15 fires to date, and the last one took 115 hours to put out while pumping from St. Johns River. So when they look at placing areas with flammable material, very important that they look at places where the location is, where that heavy industrial is, that it be near large bodies of water, because they don't have the water to fight fuel fires just coming out of a tap. Away from a main roadway, one of the considerations they took into place was not near a major interstate. They would have had to close down I-10 to fight that fire, which if you think about US 1, that could be a consideration. And of course, away from current residents. So comp plan, if we don't have coverage for heavy versus light and how we handle locations in industrial with flammable, we should discuss that. The second takeaway for staff I had was if we could get a list from county and city fire departments of equipment needed to fight these types of fires and the training needed. Do we have those types of equipment to handle this type of material? If not, what do we need? What's the list? What's the cost? And what is the turnaround? Meaning, how often would we need that equipment, have to repurchase it? So looking for that. So that was my takeaways just from what I've done so far in research. If we could get that, would be helpful.
Thank you. Good points. Anybody else? Okay. There was comments about why Flagler, I believe, was, and I know it's actually Flagler, Volusia, and Brevard were all named specifically in it. Do we know if Brevard has had any discussions at all?
I do not know if they have or they haven't. It hasn't been conveyed to me if they have.
Okay.
Chair?
Yes, ma'am.
I did read an article because I did a lot of heavy reading, research on backgrounds and things like that to voice my thoughts. And yes, Brevard, from what I understand, did reject the program. I don't know which article it is. I should have written it down, but I was in depth reading.
If you could share that one, if you find it, share that with the administration.
Go into my history for the next meeting, maybe during the workshop.
Commissioner Carney.
Just a comment. When we first got our packet, I was surprised to see this as an agenda item, and hopefully the decision model going forward is that Palm Coast gets behind this before. Just didn't understand why we were accepting the money before the project was approved. I understand it's to buy land. I understand that he's under contract to buy the land, but it sure would have been nice to have Palm Coast behind this before we we actually move forward with spending the money.
Okay. Anybody else? All right. We're going to go ahead and move to consent. Is there anybody have any comments on any of the consent items that they need to highlight? All right, hearing none, we'll see if there's any consent items that anybody needs to pull. Commissioner Hanson?
I have none, sir.
Commissioner Pennington?
None.
Commissioner Carney?
7N.
7N? Okay, 7N. That's consideration to award CEI services for general aviation terminal building construction at the Flagler Executive Airport. And Commissioner Richardson?
No, sir.
All right, none. So, and none from me. So we will go ahead and move to...
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
I move that we approve the consent agenda with the exception of 7N.
A motion by Commissioner Hanson.
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Richardson for consent minus 7N. All those in favor signify with aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carries unanimously. We'll move to 7N. This is consideration to award our 25-RSQ-034 for contract CEI services for general aviation terminal building construction at the Flagler Executive Airport to Hoyle Tanner and Associates. Mr. Seeger, Airport Director. Welcome, sir.
Good morning, Mr. Chair and Commissioners. My name is Roy Seeger, Director of the Flagler Executive Airport. And this item for consideration this morning is to award and give the contract for the to CEI service for general aviation terminal building to Hoyle Tanner and Associates. This contract is the last piece that we need to get moving on the terminal building. We have everything in place. We have all the funding in place. We have the contractor's contract in place. Now we're putting in place the CEI services. CEI services are the construction engineering services. They comprise of construction admin services, project and cost administration, record drawings, resident and project representative, architectural services, and construction materials testing. The total of this contract is $978,000. That's approximately 8.6% of the total construction of the project.
Okay. Questions for Mr. Seeger? Commissioner Carney, did you have any questions?
Yes, so the grant that we're using that we'll be using to build the aviation terminal is the requirement for the airport ordinance completed to your satisfaction? So one of the requirements for the grant is the airport zoning overlay ordinance. I know it's on the agenda today.
Correct.
But is it complete and ready to go?
Yes.
Okay. If I told you that there has to be an interlocal agreement between Palm Coast and the city of Bunnell in order for this ordinance to meet the requirements of the statute, do you think I'm right or wrong?
I don't think that's correct. But I would also defer that to our
Sean?
county attorney.
Okay. So Sean did write me an email regarding this issue. And in fact, if the ILAs, interlocal agreements, will say that the cities will adhere to the airport zoning regulations, as a practical matter, the most likely situation would be that the cities would have to follow the regulations is if the property owners wants to build a cell tower and triggers the need for an airspace obstruction permit. The city would require an owner to get this permit. So reading ahead of this, I'm sorry, although the interlocal agreements do not need to be in place before July 17th, none of us made it for 2017. But it does not limit that the ILAs were required as of July 1st, 2017. We will not meet the statutory requirement with the cities, and joint enforcement is a statutory requirement. So we do need interlocal agreements before this ordinance requires or is acceptable under statutory requirements. The fact we physically have one will probably put us in good standing with the state, which is what I'm trying to get to.
Correct.
But our next steps on this is very important, which is the Bunnell and the Palm Coast cooperation with this ordinance. So we can't just say we have one. We need to move forward, and this is probably more of a zoning issue than an airport issue, but we need to build those relationships and get that interlocal between the city and the city of Bunnell and the city of Palm Coast. So once again, I have an overall opinion that we do not meet the statutory requirements for the grant that's being used to build this building.
Okay, any other questions? I think it's been widely known that we need the interlocal, that the next step, once we pass, is the interlocal agreements with the municipalities.
Correct. Yes, that's a statutory requirement,
Right.
and we did mention that in our presentation to the city of Palm Coast.
Right. So first step, us having 2 readings. This is the first reading. We'll have second reading in 2 weeks. I think we're still on the same path as before with the approvals of the other grants, is where we have DOT's approval of our path forward. And obviously, it does require additional coordination with the cities, Palm Coast and Bunnell, potentially Flagler Beach, but right now just those 2.
Correct.
Okay.
Can I clarify all this? Because I'm going in a circle, and I'm sure some other people are too. So in order to, if we were to vote on this today, it would take the city of Palm Coast to also vote on it, and then it would come back to us after they voted on it.
Ms. Richardson, that's not exactly correct.
Okay,
So-
please correct what
Sure.
the process is.
So we have the first hearing of this ordinance, first reading today. It's also noticed to be heard again at the next meeting and to be adopted. There is an independent, separate statutory requirement that we have interlocal agreements with any local jurisdiction that is impacted by this ordinance. And so that would include Palm Coast and Bunnell because of the layout of the airport geographically. Parts of their cities fall within an area that could trigger the need for a permit under this ordinance. And as Commissioner Carney mentioned, we're anticipating the most likely scenario would be as if someone wanted to build a cell tower. Because of their height, that could even though it's in the city, it could trigger the need for a permit under this ordinance. And so the statute requires us to have a formal agreement on the books that coordinates that process.
Thank you. That clarifies it to me as well as to the folks that are here and the folks that are listening. Appreciate it.
One last final comment is we were told that this would be done in March. And by the time this is completed, you're assuming that there's an interlocal agreement sometime in April, which won't happen in Palm Coast. So now we're looking at May. So for this entire project, start to finish, that was supposed to happen in March, is now looking at May at the earliest. Hopefully with some cooperation, and we don't have to do a whole lot more sales to get Palm Coast on board. This building or this area could be already started by the time we get everything lined up. So I went down this road thinking, oh, this is easy. Then nothing's going to happen here. We'll just get this done. And now we are already 2 months past an anticipated ordinance with statute, following the statutes of the state of Florida. So again, I just want to bring, Commissioner, it is complicated, but the point is we're not in compliance. In my opinion, we're not in compliance, and we have missed our deadlines.
Any other comments? What I, again, just want to reiterate is we've gotten to this point with prior approvals with the blessing of DOT as to the path that we're on. And we've approved all the other contracts and grants to this point with DOT's guidance and an approval to get to this point. And if there's any other questions, I'll go ahead and ask for a motion. Oh, public comment. Open this up for public comment. My bad on that, sorry.
Darlene Shelley, K-Section, Palm Coast. Ms. Carney's completely accurate in her description of what's happening here. Nearly $1 million for an unnecessary terminal. Unnecessary terminal is from the words of the pilots and the aviation folks who actually used to be on an airport advisory committee that was disbanded after butting heads with the airport manager. So now there's no oversight committee. You also have to consider the high possibility of these grant monies being nixed at some point in the near future. And you simply can't put the cart in front of the horse. You know, that's what Palm Coast got jammed up for, by approving things before all the necessary infrastructure was in place first. You're absolutely correct that if Palm Coast stands up for the residents of the city, they in no shape, way, or form will approve this airport zoning regulations as written. In fact, in my emails to all of you, I explained my concerns that it's not even legally sufficient in the language that was presented to the planning board, and it was presented to the planning board and not an airport zoning or regulation committee as required. 2 readings at the airport oversight committee or whatever it was deemed never happened. And you tried to retroactively call your planning board the required entity, but that's not sufficient. The community was not informed about this coming up on their agenda. There was no public notice referencing the airport commission on this item that has the ability to change our property rights and to declare hundreds of homes in Palm Coast as airport hazard areas, rather than the correct language in the FDOT aviation guidelines, which is airport overlay. There's a big difference between a hazard and an overlay. And the language that are in these airport zoning regulations, I believe are legally insufficient and inaccurate and only represent the airport's side of the story. Thank you.
Ms. Shelley, I was a little lenient on that from prior. This specific topic is about the CEI services, so it is not about the overlay. It is specific to the CEI services that we are looking to approve. So if we can keep our comments to the CEI services, you'll still have time. The overlay is coming up, but just to let you know, I gave you some additional time for that.
I appreciate it, but it's a step in that direction.
This is specific to the contract for CEI services.
We have this, they all tie in together. The fuel storage, the overlay, and the terminal. But you keep cutting
I disagree,
us out.
but this is specific to this CEI service contract. That is what we are approving.
So do you want to hear my 3 minutes?
If it has to do with the grant agreement,
You don't want to hear my 3 minutes.
you will have, if it's about the
Talk
oversight,
about a full moon, but I do get 3 minutes.
to talk about the oversight overlay is going to be an agenda item coming up.
Overlay.
That is coming up. That is not what we're discussing right now. We are discussing CEI services for the
Terminal.
airport.
The
For the
terminal.
terminal.
So I'm against the terminal. Do you want to know why?
Sure.
Because we have flight schools, it's promising jobs, but we're not getting jobs. It promises growth, but
The airport terminal, not the fuel terminal.
you're going to cut me off again, really?
I'm trying to help you clarify your comments. This is about the
The
airport
terminal-
terminal, not the fuel terminal.
Is promoting growth, yes or no?
Yes.
And I'm telling you, no. We not seeing it with what we see so far. Only 6 people work over there. Do you have a question?
Nope.
Why do we need a terminal anyway? Can you answer that? Since you want to engage, why do we need a terminal?
Continue.
Anybody? Are we going to have more flight schools? Because I'm against the flight schools. We don't need more lead, more toxic waste dump in South Palm Coast because you're going to do it up there with the fuel storage, toxic, turning Palm Coast into a toxic waste dump. So, no. Oh, I have a petition against all this stuff. Can I submit that? I'm sure you're not going to let me, but I do have a petition. Can I?
Sure, give it to the clerk. Right there.
So no terminal, no fuel thing, and no overlay.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
My name is Bruce Jones. I'm a resident of Palm Coast. I attended a town hall meeting that Kim sponsored, and it came up about the terminal, even though it was a lot about it was the new ordinance, but the terminal came up and a pilot raised the question, which I thought was a good one, is there's no business plan. And so this part of this about cost benefit, you can't really address it unless you have a business plan, which has a full cycle. And the recommendation was to have a business plan so that you actually can communicate clearly what the benefit is to the public and what it's going to bring, not just somebody saying, well, it's going to improve the economy or whatever, but one of the pilots there actually said you need a business plan. So my only comment is consider that, please. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comment? All right, seeing none, we'll close public comment. Mr. Seeger, did you have any follow-up to any of that? I will just say, on just a few of the comments, the unnecessary terminal has been funded almost 100%, about 95+% by DOT. They would not be funding an unnecessary terminal. The grants have been approved, so they've already been signed and sealed. Those have been approved in previous meetings. So the process has been pretty clear for going on 4 years now with with all of this being stated in the master plan, correct?
Correct.
Okay. So I didn't know if you had any other clarifications. I know public notice, I don't think there's been any public notice issues that I've seen that I've uncovered. But if there was anything else that needed to be addressed on the terminal and the CEI is what I'm trying to make sure that this is the item that's before us, is approval of the CEI services.
Correct. And the only thing I just want to say is to Commissioner Carney, Commissioner Carney, so when Sean did some more due diligence on this process of getting this ordinance through, that's when we found out that we had to have that other time frame to go to a board, the planning board. And that's when, that kind of threw us off about a month because, as you know, they only meet, once a month. I think it's once a month, correct? So that's kind of threw it off there. So we wanted to make sure that our T's are crossed, our I's are dotted, making sure we're doing everything correct. And as a matter of fact, I think, and Sean, correct me if I'm wrong, is that we're actually taking an extra step to do 2 readings of this. I believe we only had to do 1, but we actually wanted to do 2 for that ordinance. So just wanted to clarify that with you. And then also, at the end, so yes, as part of grant assurance, it does say that we should, I think it is a word, should or shall comply with a airport overlay. Sean, is it should or shall? I forget in the grant, but nonetheless.
Under the word requirements, when you
right.
look at that grant, number 1, there's 3 things.
Right.
Number 1 is airport zoning ordinance. So I'm not looking at the content of the material above it. I'm looking at the requirements of the grant. That's where I'm looking.
Right. So again, we're formalizing this, we're getting it done. We got these 2 readings, but also to let you know, also, is that we do work very well. We were still doing all the requirements with FAA and FDOT to making sure that if we ever saw a project come up that could interfere with air navigation to the airport, that we are working with those cities through that.
And after some of the comments that were made at the April 1st meeting, which I'm going to speak about later, I'm just not so sure that Palm Coast is going to take an interlocal agreement that I'm sure is somewhere in the process, right, Adam? I know you're talking to them about it, but I just don't want 100% guarantee. If this board thinks it's a done deal, it is not a done deal. These same people that are speaking out against the airport are going to show up again when all this hits Palm Coast and Bunnell, and it's just going to keep escalating. I'm just not going to put all my eggs in one basket and say that this is a done deal, because in my mind, May is a stretch. This will probably go into the summer. That's my opinion.
But I just want to say also is that it really has nothing, that overlay has nothing to do with this project, because we have everything approved. Everything's been approved by FDOT. They were happy with everything we've been doing, and we've done everything that they wanted us to do.
You have an email from our correspondent. You don't have a guarantee from the State of Florida Department of Transportation. You have an email from a correspondent that says proceed. You're okay proceeding. She can't guarantee us no recall. She can't guarantee us anything. It's, again, Roy, it's just crossing the T's and dotting the I's. That's all it is. And we need to make this a priority, in my opinion.
And I think we are.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, so, comment?
Oh, well, Mr. Seeker, real quick, sorry, apologies. So going back to what she's talking about really quick, I saw some discussion on the city of Palm Coast because recently about the airport, and I guess they're sending us a letter, is that correct? From their attorneys, have we received that yet? Or Sean, have you reviewed it?
No, I spoke with the city's attorney on Thursday, and this was not mentioned. I'm sorry, we talked about the ordinance, but any letter or filing of a dispute resolution process, that was not brought up.
Yeah, so I guess we'll have to wait to see what their intentions are regarding the interlocal, right? I mean, I don't know what's going on all of a sudden with them.
Right.
So I think it just speaks to, is that going to be an impact, again, back to the ordinance, or what their plans are all of a sudden?
You know, and as I stand here, I just remembered something too. A little while ago, I want to say several years ago, City of Ormond Beach, when they put their process through their airport overlay, they required us as well, because a part of their overlay affected Flagler County. And I don't think to this day that Flagler County has signed anything with them, but yet they still continue to move forward with their project at their airport.
Two wrongs don't make a right.
I know, I'm just saying, but I'm just saying that we're still working through the process, and we're going to get it there.
Okay. Any other comments? So right now, in front of us is the CEI contract for CEI services, which ties in with our prior approvals for the construction of the terminal. CEI is a required component to continue with the construction for the oversight of construction and engineering inspection. If there's not any other questions, I need a motion and a second.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve item 7N.
A motion by Commissioner Hanson for approval. I need a second.
I'll go ahead and second it.
Seconded by Commissioner Pennington. Okay. Again, I'll ask, make sure everybody is clear in what we're approving. If there's any other questions, now's the time.
So just Ms. Carney's point is again like the other items that have come across in the airport, which is she just doesn't feel we're in compliance with the grant because of not having the ordinance in place. And we have an email from the FDOT stating that they're comfortable with us proceeding with this contracts, that they're not going to impact the grant in any way. Doesn't say that? No?
It says it's all right for us to go forward, on our path.
To proceed as.
Proceed.
To continue and proceed. And putting the pieces together, this is consistent with the appropriation that we received from the state for $5 million plus the other grants. This is another step to tie all of that together for the construction of the terminal. This is a required component of the construction. Just like all of our other roadway projects all have CEIs.
Then my final question before we go to vote is, should the FDOT require this grant to be paid back? Would that be out from the airport fund? Anyone know?
Is that a yes?
I would say they're an enterprise fund, so they have to pay for their own expenses. It may be something that general fund, or we'd have to get a loan, but it would be paid back through the airport, not through ad valorem.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Okay, I've got a motion by Commissioner Hanson, seconded by Commissioner Pennington. I'm going to call the question. All those in favor signify with aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Nay.
Motion carries 3-2. Okay, we will move on to general business. The first item on general business is item 8A, consideration of Parks and Recreation Advisory Board appointments. Request the board consider the applications from Charles Cowart, Worth Strecker, Lawrence Poulos, and Robert Knapp, and select 2 members to serve on the Parks and Recreation Advisory Board. I believe we all have tallies, sheets, and Mr. Dixon, good morning, sir.
Good morning. Mike Dixon, General Services Director. So yeah, you're here, you have 4 applicants and we have 2 openings. So the term starts on April 17th, 2025 and expires on April 17th, 2027. So please.
Any of the applicants with us today?
No.
Okay.
We need to choose 2.
Okay. So at this time, if everybody would mark their ballots and put them on front, they'll be collected. And per policy, you'll have to read the tally.
Correct.
So that we know commissioners' votes.
Amazing.
So, Commissioner Richardson chose Charles Coward and Lawrence Poulis. Commissioner Dance chose Charles Coward and Robert Knapp. Commissioner Carney chose Charles Coward and Robert Knapp. Commissioner Hanson chose Worth Strecker and Robert Knapp. And Commissioner Pennington chose Charles Coward and Lawrence Poulis. So the choices are awarded to Charles Coward and Robert Knapp.
Thank you.
All right.
Very much. Congratulations. Thank you for your continued service on our advisory boards, which are provide critical input, so thank you. All right, as previously mentioned, item 8B has been removed from the agenda. That puts us to our 9A, a public hearing. This is legislative. Request to approve the Flagler Executive Airport Zoning Regulations Ordinance on first reading. Again, this will be back as a second reading for adoption. This is just the first reading. Mr. Mangle, good morning.
Good morning, Adam Mangle, Growth Management Director. I've got a few slides. They should look very familiar to you by now. So I'll cut through probably the middle part of them. But then this does achieve compliance with Chapter 333. It does have to be followed by an interlocal agreement. We have been talking with the staff. The interlocal agreement is underway. Ordinance has to be adopted before you do the ILA. And the ILA, of course, requires parties to agree. It's called an interlocal agreement. And so we don't come to agreement, then we figure out what we're going to do from there. The filing with the adoption of the ordinance, as we've written in, I think we're going to do it within 10 days of the meeting on the 21st. We'll file it with both the Department of State and with FDOT. One emphasis here, if there's points of contention, and we've already received a couple of comments from the City of Palm Coast, not contention items, actually items that I think are very helpful. Their question as part of the review of the ordinance was, what do we do about an administrative appeal? You know, what if we deny an obstruction permit? Again, what are we talking about? A cell tower. So a cell tower that's there, for whatever reason, we deny it as staff, as the airport zoning administrator. We deny that permit. It's in the city limits of the City of Palm Coast. Whatever reason, we have some justification for it. How would that be handled as an appeal rather than going directly to court? And so we're going to be working on that. We'll bring that back to you. Some language be added to the ordinance between now and the 21st. We can do that. And so we're certainly going to do that to attempt to satisfy that comment from the City of Palm Coast. Aside from that, Bunnell and Palm Coast both know that we need to do this. And so if we don't do this or something is different and when we get into this, then that's a greater problem for the three of us. And so that's something still yet then, I think there's a strong incentive for us to work together. And I think this has been a collaborative effort at this point. We are meeting the requirements again of the statute. Once this is done, it doesn't mean that it's in stone. We can come back and amend it. We've had that happen before. We're familiar with the amendment process for amending ordinances. So that it's something that can be a fluid, dynamic consideration. As was mentioned before, we think the notice is in good shape. February 11th, the Planning Board considered this. March 11th, the Planning Board again considered it as the Airport Zoning Commission. We've had 2 workshops, a town hall. We don't have to have 2 readings on this. We are doing 2 readings before this board on consideration of this ordinance. And so out of abundance of caution, we're doing 2 readings. Let's see, what else have I not hit? Airport hazard is a term of art in the statute. You've got to call this airport hazard zoning. That's part of what's happening. Any jurisdiction that has part of these zones that extend out into its area is considered an extension of the airport hazard. That's not our language, that's the legislature. This language also, got to state that for the record, isn't particularly new. This statute dates back to 1945 for the most part. It's been something that's been changed over the years, and certainly if it changes again, we'll come back. We'll evaluate the airport overlay zoning at that time also. As was mentioned, Flagler Beach, if they have one key annexation that's maybe pending, they also then need to be a party to this. We'll then take that interlocal to them. We'll see if they want to adopt it as well. I go to the main map. I think still what everyone's talking about. So this, again, is the graphic. This is what we've based our notification tool on so far. We have a draft notification tool. We tend to have that go live at the time when we adopt this ordinance. What this does is you put in your address, and it will come up with the maximum height that you could place something on your property. Predominantly, that's 150 feet or higher. We do have a couple of areas there within the approach zone for the primary runway that are just a little bit less than 150. And so we're trying to work through that, make sure that that information is correct. It's still above 100, but less than 150. And so we'll be coming back and reporting that tool once we go live. We'll have that ready before the 21st. Yes, sir.
So that'll be an interactive
It will be.
consumer portal where they'll be able to put, just like voter, where's my precinct?
Exactly.
Put your address in and it'll tell you the height of your obstruction.
A very robust tool. The way it's designed now, it's based on the parcel limits. So you clicked on a particular parcel, and it will tell you the percentage of the parcel that's under the most restrictive zone. And so it's a very good tool, in my opinion. And so we're meeting that requirement for the most restrictive is a consideration we always want to have the landowner have in their mind. So that, remember, one parcel could have multiple overlays. Intuitively, the most restrictive is your concern. You don't care about the one above it.
Right. Very good. Thank you.
So our next steps, this list, remember, had quite a few bullets last time. We're getting down there. And so now we've got our meeting today, and then if everything is successful today and it's approved on first reading, move forward to the 21st. You have a copy of the public notice as part of this agenda item. You can review it. You can see what we've done. We did provide public notice to the community, the newspaper advertising for this hearing. With that, I'll close. Await any questions or comments. Thank you.
Thank you. Questions for Mr. Mangle? Mr. Carney?
Yeah. So I did get some questions about, can we get a designation on the property appraiser's website? So, when you do the zoning and you do the zoning overlay and, are you in the flood zone? But can we identify, will we be identifying this area?
Our tool doesn't necessarily work as well. It's not on the, we talked with the appraiser about this. Short answer, he's working at it. It will have a cost with it. And so we can do all things with money. And so I think that cost will come to us. What likely it'll end up looking like is there'll be a link where if you want to get that information on that display of the layers, you click that link and then it will take you to our tool. It seems to be the easiest way for us to do it.
All right.
Because unfortunately the way our maps work right now, our zoning, you click on the zoning and it will show you a two-dimensional graphic. It's not as intuitive or as specific for parcel specific on the property appraiser.
And then on page 4, where we go through the definitions, and this might be a Sean question, item 6 talks about airport zoning administrator. The county administrator or his or her designee shall serve as the, and I understand it's just jargon. I would like something a little bit stronger that says that it goes to zoning and growth management.
I don't think we have any particular opposition. I think I wanted it not to specify a particular position, but it could, and especially now in the context of the appeal, and we talked very quickly about this, I think that's a good suggestion because we were talking about if the county administrator was the designee, then the administrative appeal would typically, in our world, would go to the administrator first. And so I don't think we'd have a problem with making that. We're either referring to the department or to growth management director or planning director, something like that.
That's all I have. Thank you.
Would we, question and follow up on that, would we be limiting ourselves in times of people out of the office if we limit it, if we just state, we could put wording in there that, right, that the planning director may be the first in line or something, but I don't want to have it where nobody is available if it's just the administrator or the planning director.
We'll take care of that.
Okay. Okay. Other questions? I appreciate the tool. I think the tool is, I think it reinforces what the zoning, what this is, which is a zoning ordinance. And I think that we do need some additional, any additional clarity or information to the other municipal partners.
Yes, sir.
Sounds like you've got a good working relationship with City of Palm Coast attorney, so.
Absolutely.
Just the clarity of the purpose of the document is, I think it's helpful.
I think, too, when we bring forward the interlocal, we will spell out the history that we have of cooperating. We have interlocals
Right.
regarding planning with City of Palm Coast near the airport.
Right.
So this isn't just coming now out of the statute, but is something that has evolved over the decades.
And one point, too, also, if I may, Mr.
Yes,
Chairman,
sir.
we're also working on the Joint Planning Committee interlocal, so the other interlocal that we had discussed. And so staff's collaborating on that as well, at least at the planning level.
Okay.
And so we'll have that coming forward. Again, not related to this, but we have other efforts currently
Right.
underway.
Very good. Okay. At this time, I'll open it up for public comment. This is about the overlay ordinance.
I have a question for Ms. Carney. So if we sell our house, do we have to declare that we live in a airport flight school zone, something to that effect? It's saying 150 feet above your house at the property appraiser. Can you tell me that?
I can tell you that it's not a current disclosure as far as real estate goes,
Right.
but not that it is not a bad idea.
Will this make it that?
But that is not the purpose of this. So if you're in that zone, you cannot construct something that's over 150 feet.
But it's not a disclosure.
Not at this point, and nowhere in the statute did I read that it has to be a real estate disclosure. But is it not a good idea? It could be, but it's not required.
It should have been, or else I wouldn't have moved there. Nobody told me. Is there an environmental impact assessment for this? Don't you have to have one? It says there is one, but we keep asking and we don't, I don't know, it's somewhere. And also a noise assessment. Anybody have that? That's what you need for this, right? Don't you need that?
We'll address your questions. Could complete your comments.
Also, there's bald eagles, wetlands, historic cemetery right on the property. So you should think about the environment before you start destroying it.
Thank you. Next public comment, please.
Darlene Shelley, Palm Coast. Mr. Mangle, Mr. Seeger, and the attorney has done a great job in presenting this as something that has only to do with antennas and tall structures. That's one component. There's two components, the second of which prohibit incompatible uses within noise contours established by a federally approved noise study. Prohibition of incompatible uses near an airport with no noise study, which we know we don't have a noise study for Flagler Airport, and the restrictions of new incompatible uses within runway protection zones. Page 5 of the final report on your ordinance states the model ordinance identifies two airport zones of influence: the airport height notification, which they'll have you believe is the only notification, and the airport overflight zone. Both of these zones are considered as airport hazards. This is what it says in your ordinance. The FDOT model ordinance actually states the two components are airport hazards and airport compatibility land use. But even more simply, airport zoning regulations should protect both the air surrounding the airport and the land surrounding the airport. Regarding the land surrounding the airport, governments are required, at a minimum, to address prohibition of incompatible uses near an airport with no noise study. The term airport hazard area is not in the FDOT Aviation Airport Land Use Compatibility Guidebook Model Ordinance that Mr. Mingle claims they used verbatim. What it does outline is establishment of an overflight zone as an airport zone of influence and is established to regulate the uses of land lying in specific areas above which aircraft must routinely operate at low altitudes and climb from or descend to the runways of public use airports. Within an airport overflight zone, certain land uses are restricted or prohibited due to the land use characteristics, which could result in further death, injury, and property damage in the event of an aircraft accident, as such areas are much more likely statistically to be exposed to accidents involving aircraft climbing from or descending to the runway at low altitude. The airport overflight zone includes the area over which aircraft routinely operates at low altitude and includes protections against development within runway protection zones, development within airport noise zones, and development of educational or residential land uses. This ordinance, as presented, fails the citizens and, I still contend, is unlawful. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bruce Jones again.
Yes, sir.
One of the problems of this whole thing, it's not been clear or transparent to the public. What I would like to see between the time, this meeting and the time that you get to final approval is some kind of mail out to people so that they know what's going on, one. Two is, when you read through the document itself, it's very confusing. Some people think that if you're within the zone, one zone, you can't plant a garden, you can't, there's a lot of misconception about this. So what I would propose is you produce some kind of fact sheet, maybe one page, that says what it is and isn't, and give that to the public as well, because there's just a lot of misinformation. People are always scared. You talk about zoning, what you're going to do and prevent people from doing. And I recognize that it's mainly about towers and making sure there are no obstructions. That's the main purpose of this, and also that you kind of need that, to move on in the development of all this. So I would just encourage you to reach out better to the public. I'd also like to, I think we proposed before, is to re-establish an advisory board for the airport that can advise it, because it's a big job. And the amount of flights in and out of this area really increase, and it would be good to have some kind of mechanism for the public to actually interact with people directly. So thank you.
Thank you, sir. Any other public comment? All right, seeing none, I'll bring it back. Do allow me the privilege to read this part of the ordinance. Florida statute provides for the use of a Part 150 noise study or other noise study accepted by FAA to establish the 65 DNL contour. For the Flagler Executive Airport, a Part 150 noise study has not been completed, but a noise study was conducted for the 2009 Flagler County Airport Environmental Assessment for the expansion of runway 1129. This 65 DNL contour is the basis of the depiction of the airport noise zone provided on Figure 12, which is on page 13. Thank you. We've closed public comment. I'm sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought I could speak for a minute. I have two questions that maybe the gentleman that's making the presentation can answer or clarify.
I will allow you to come speak, but when I call for public comment, you have to come up.
Sorry.
State your name and your comment.
Lori Sugg. I live in Grand Landings. I'm a resident. I just have a couple of questions. Looking at the map, if you can put it back up there.
Which map? The big one?
The overlay.
Okay.
The horizontal area, I just wonder what you mean by horizontal. Does it just fly around horizontal? Or is that being considered in the noise assessment area? Because it looks like the 65 decibel night average sound level, the black line, is only right around the airport property. So therefore, is the noise assessment going to be only around that line and not out in the neighborhoods where they're flying?
Correct.
So how are all these people going to be assured that the noise they're hearing consistently is not affecting them? Not only that, I don't know if people are aware that 190,000 a year takeoff and landings is more than any other general aviation airport in Florida, and that Miami airport only has about 400,000 a year. So it's the consistency of these training people taking off and going all day long. And that also affects the emissions. The noise is consistent to these people. And if you're only measuring that little area around the airport, it's not showing the impact of the whole neighborhood. And did I have any other questions?
Excuse me, sir. Sir,
No, Jim?
can't
Sorry.
shout out from the audience. If
Sorry.
you want to, I opened it back up. If you want to speak,
No.
I'll let you
He
speak.
thinks he's connected to me just because we're married. That's okay.
Okay.
65 decibels only includes the airport property. So, I mean, 190. Also, my question is, in this study, are you including the Black Hawk helicopters that you are going to be bringing in to fly around all day? And what is the consideration with that after what is happening in Washington, D.C. with the FAA having crashes? Okay, so there's a lot to be concerned about, and I don't think you're taking it into consideration in these assessments.
Thank you. All right, is there any other public comment?
Jim Sugg, Palm Coast. Just want to make a quick point, don't need a 3-minute anything. You've got numerous flights touching, taking off, touching, going around the little gray zone and all that. A Harley Davidson, when you crank it up, that's 65 dBs. Now you've got that going 5,000 times a year or whatever my wife said it was. I mean, I don't know if you want a Harley Davidson flying over your house, you know, cranked up like that day and night. Thank you.
Thank you. Public comment. This is for the item if it's on the airport overlay. Yes. Any other comment on the airport overlay? All right, seeing none, I'm going to bring it back to the commission. Did you have any follow-up comments on anything? No? Okay. Any other questions for Mr. Mangle? All right, is there a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I move that we adopt the first reading of the Flagler Executive Airport Zoning Regulations Ordinance.
I'll second.
I have a motion by Commissioner Hanson, seconded by Commissioner Carney. Any final comments or questions?
I would just for comments. This did not come up as a noise issue. It came up because of some other administrative things that the county had not dealt with. The goal here was not to stop the noise. If the public thinks that, then you're right, they probably need a little, we probably still do need a little bit more education. Our next step is the master plan for the airport, which will include, Adam, keep nodding, will include a noise study. The boundaries that we have determined and the boundaries set in this ordinance is due to, I will say the word old, it's old information. It's from 2008 and 2009, just like our regulations for the airport are from 2008. There is no business plan we get all this. So I've met with the administrator. We're going to continue to move this forward so that we have input from our citizens. This particular ordinance, in my opinion, is just not the time to do it. We need to get this structural part done so we can be in compliance, and then we can move on. I do agree we do need an aviation advisory board. Again, there's lots of things that I do agree with, but it's not here. It's not in this ordinance, and I hope you believe me on that. But we're doing what we have to do to get where we have to get. So that's the only reason. Thanks.
All right, very good. Anybody else? All right, I'll call the question. All those in favor of the motion signify with aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carries unanimously. Thank you.
I do have a comment.
Yes, ma'am.
It's off the wall, but I'm going to say it because it's bothering me. You know, I don't say too much until it bothers me. I live 3 houses in from the biggest intersection in the county, in my opinion, except 95. Houses back up to 95. My home backs up towards Belterre. I have consistent noise in the back of my house, morning, noon, night, overnight, especially with those emergencies, which the fire station is another block away. Noise is part of living in a city, and I have to say that when we're talking about noise, because I have it all day long. That doesn't include hearing the trains, and since the trees were cut back, I-95 traffic at 3 in the morning and I-95 lights. This is what happens when you live in a city. That's all I'm going to say, because I still love it here, and I'm going to say it at every meeting, because people want to say what they want to say, but I want to say this too. This is where we live, and I'm proud to be here. As far as getting the noise ordinance, the noise information on the Jay Gardner's site for the that will assist people in being able to do their due diligence as far as where their location is. I've never met someone, well, I'll leave it at that, because everybody has the right to do their own due diligence when they purchase a home. I'm going to leave it at that. I did mine, and I hope you all do yours. Thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, we are going to go to section 10. This is additional reports and comments. County Administrator.
Thank you. Just a few things. I wanted to provide you an update on the beach management outreach. Earlier today, you approved the DEP agreement along with the Hammock Dunes Owners Association, which will allow for us to move forward with the $8.8 million project. You also approved the second amendment to allow for the hurricane recovery project, which is another $5.6 million. We're currently working on an amendment to our FDOT agreement, along with 2 additional agreements, one with Hammock Beach, the other one with Ocean Hammock, which will allow for some additional dune work to be done ahead of hurricane season. With the beach projects, there's a lot of moving parts. We recently have our Hurricane Milton Cat G funding currently under review, which will provide some additional funding for work ahead of hurricane season. I say all that because we're working on a lot of other projects than what we've originally, when we were talking about the dune and the beach construction. These are for hurricane-related dune work that we are trying to get done ahead of hurricane season. So what we were looking at doing, or at least my approach would be that we cover this at our next workshop on April 21st to give you an update, because you'll probably see some of these other agreements come forward then, as well as some requests for our consultant to do some work for us there. And then the other thing that we're working on, as you know, we're continuing based on previous guidance by the board. Staff is continuing to work with legal to create draft interlocal agreements with the cities for consideration in either April or May. We have had some discussions with city managers. The purpose is to establish the ongoing funding for beach management, and where we left off was with the half-cent sales tax and the plan that we had brought forward. I don't know if there's any additional guidance from the board on this topic. If so, if you could let us know as we're working on those interlocal agreements in draft. And then we're deep in internal budget discussions. We've had several department meetings scheduled this week. We're also in the middle of union negotiations with Fire Rescue. We've got a meeting scheduled this week with our constitutional officers, as well as our chair, as part of our annual self-insurance review committee to discuss our self-funded health insurance plan and any proposed changes that could affect our budget. So I don't know if there's any guidance on budget that the board would like to provide other than where we left off. So, and that concludes my report.
All right, so just for clarity, what do you need from us? I heard a few things in there where you were looking for guidance or clarity, so I just want to be sure we provide that.
One is we're going to have a workshop at the April 21st to talk about updates to the budget. That would be the first one.
Okay.
If you guys are good with that, then we'll continue working towards that. The second one is that we are working with legal for the interlocal agreements that we were going to go back to the cities for them to consider. So we're drafting those.
For the beach funding.
For beach funding, using the half-cent sales tax approach, which was the approach that we presented at the joint workshops. Just want to make sure that everybody's aligned with that.
I would say for Palm Coast and Bunnell, it's pretty straightforward, but the other one is the barrier islands are more complicated. So in your working with them, are you on the same page with everybody?
So far we are. The guidance or the information that we got from Palm Coast and Bunnell was rather than a 50-50 split, they'd like it to be kind of pegged at a certain amount rather than have it fluctuate, so that...
And for a certain time period, I think I remember.
For a certain time period,
okay.
Yeah. So we're still working on that with them, but we're just fine-tuning and tweaking theirs as well as the ones on the barrier island. So just want everybody, for transparency, that, you know, at some point in April or May, Jorge and I will be over there to talk about these draft interlocal agreements with the cities. Not every municipality does workshops, so some of them might be formal meetings. So just so everybody's aware of it.
Let's stop there. So the part where you've had input from Bunnell and Palm Coast, is this the first of... Do you want a little extra explanation on what they're proposing? Or do you understand what she said?
Right. So Palm Coast is wanting to hold additional funds from the half penny, correct?
I think what would end up happening is they wanted to get locked in, we'll say, at a rate. So if we look at the average of that 6-year increment, it would be a flat rate each year. So in year one, they may be paying more than 50%. It may be higher. But as the sales tax increases, they would get a larger percentage back. So they're trying to cap it so that it becomes kind of a steady contribution, flat, rather than escalating with the cost or the rise in half-cent sales tax. So it doesn't change the amount that they're contributing. It's just that it's flat over the entire 6-year period. Where it was presented before, it escalated over time as sales tax grew. That's the only change. And it's only been at staff level. It hasn't been with their elected officials. But based on their guidance, that's how we are crafting it, because they should have a sense of discussion.
Is there contingency plans been drafted for, I'm just going to ask this because, are there contingency plans to fund the beach based on obviously that new city proposal, but also if the board did not entertain the half penny, is there a plan, is there a workaround that's been drafted? And then are there plans that show, I guess I'll leave it there. Is there a plan, is there a workaround plan drafted right now without the half penny and at this reduced contribution from the cities?
Not reduced.
Or, sorry.
It wouldn't be reduced, it would be paying, they would be contributing the total amount. The guidance that we had from the board was based on the formula, if you will, that was presented to the joint bodies when they met. There was no direction or guidance from this board to staff that you want to look at something different. So I would say no to an alternative.
Well, I think the alternative fallback, which didn't get a lot of support, was just unincorporated only. Because that leaves Flagler Beach in a bind, but that's the only fallback that we have for Barrier Island residents. If the half penny doesn't go through, then we go back to those presentations from the fall for just the unincorporated. That's what I understood anyway. But that leaves the rest of the Barrier Island fending for themselves.
I don't disagree. I would say the same thing, that yes, that would be our fallback, but I don't know if the entire board if that's the direction that the entire board feels, or if the entire board wants us to look at some other funding that I don't know what it would look like.
I'm just saying, answering Commissioner Pennington's, the plan, which we gave consensus to move forward with those interlocals, is the plan. So fallback would have to come back to us, but in the back of my mind was that, we spent all those months doing just the unincorporated to lay the groundwork for how this all was going to work. A fallback would have to come back to us, but that's, it leaves our other municipal partners without any coverage on the Barrier Island.
That's the problem.
Right.
If we don't do the half cent, it really, really hurts Flagler Beach and Beverly Beach. That's who it just cripples them. So we'd have to come up with something pretty unique and some kind of agreement with Flagler Beach if we don't do the half cent, because Flagler Beach will not be able to survive.
But unless there's difference, you still have consensus from before to continue working with the plan that you're under to build the interlocal framework.
I just want to say, I know it was a long time ago, and in light of legislation, and I think we're all reading our legislative updates, so this board is going to get the direction from our governor that he wants to lower the sales tax by 0.75, but yet this board is going to say, well, thanks, Governor, but we're going to raise it a half a cent. I think we need to look at the atmosphere that we're in right now, and I'll go out there and say that what looked as something to be an answer is not looking like an answer on April 7th, 2025. I know there's lots of energy going into this being our only option, but I can guarantee you that there's other options. I haven't found them yet. I'm working on them, but I'm not convinced that this county is going to look strong and unified if we put a half cent after as Governor DeSantis brings us down. And I'm not saying that's going to pass. I'm not saying that. But we're not thinking the same way as our governor is thinking. We just don't look like we're together. And having said that, can I go back to the April 21st update on the coastal projects that are going? Okay. My question, or what I would like in that April 21st update, and I know a lot of the current half-cent tax plan has got TDC money tied to it in both, in the construction. I'd like to see the sections of the coastline, the whole coastline, not just unincorporated, that qualifies for Fund 1111, construction. What sections of the 17 miles qualify under the statute of the state of Florida? That's all I have.
Okay. Did you have a question, Ms. Richardson? No?
I don't really have a question. I see that we've had 3 or 4 different scenarios of how to do this from the beginning of my taking this seat. There was no tax. Then there was from this fund and that fund, and then it was this year to that year. It's expanded by years. This has gone in a full circle all the way around to make me a little uncomfortable about all of it. People are fighting amongst themselves on the barrier island. The beaches are all claiming the necessity. The people in the country see no necessity for it. It's a constant battle, and I think we have to make a fair assessment for everyone, and I don't know what that is at this point. But as per Commissioner Carney, the governor is dozing, and we need to start dozing too. And that was discussed at the legislature during our time with our county legislators. So that's a big concern when we start talking about adding taxes when everybody else is cutting them. Very concerned about that. That's major. And apparently they don't all want to pay what the full amount is. So if they're all starting to renegotiate their desires about it, then how do we fulfill that obligation? And that's just off the top of my head.
Anybody else want to add? Go ahead.
I will say I wasn't here for the beach workshop that time, but I did publicly state that I'm not supportive of the half penny. I think the board will come to a conclusion quicker if we take this in drips and drabs, meaning stretches. We were working quicker with the unincorporated plan before, and then this kind of jinxed it up. I have a really unpopular theory on, I'm terrified of funding right now with what the state is doing. And then the market is not doing well today, and there's potential for a recession. Well, I'd say we were in a recession, but so I'm not really sure. I don't feel very confident about this being, this is a huge undertaking, all 18 miles in one gulp for this little board. This, to me, is a fiscally constrained county that is trying to create its own social security plan almost for a beach. So I think we'd get there quicker if we took it in drips and drabs and continued to push out to try to gain more business and industry and watch the market. But I wanted to get that out there because the administration needs to know, it's all contingent on the half cent, and they need to have a firm feeling of where we're at on it. So that's where I'm not there on that. I was more comfortable when we were looking at the unincorporated plan, but I also see that we do have very firm commitment to the Army Corps. So I'm comfortable going either way with stretch 1 and 2, or going just unincorporated at this time to come up with a plan. The other thing is, it's a very uncomfortable idea for me, but and I know that it has some debt attached to it, but I mean, we haven't had a discussion as a board whether or not the ESL funds are going to sunset, or if we are going to put that back out to referendum. But that is already baked. into the millage right now for conservation, and what more is conservation than the beach? So there is a consideration there that we could have to take ESL funds, allow them to sunset, but then continue to dedicate that millage that people are already paying for conservation of the beach. And that money. So there are other little options that maybe we could piecemeal together, but that's why I talk about having contingency plans and plans with different stretches, and so we have options to look through, which is, something that I think is worth consideration. But I just wanted to put that out there as we're talking about it, because I wasn't here.
Right. Well, current ESL's not a non-starter for what we're doing at the beach. It has no relationship at all. You can't use current ESL
It
funds.
sunsets in what, 26 or 28? 28. 28. It sunsets unless
So you
we
want to
send it out to
sunset
referendum.
probably the most popular referendum that we've had.
We are not finding land, when you sit on that board, that we can buy. This is my thought. It's just a holistic thought. Is we are not really finding quality land to put into conservation right now. I mean, people are bringing us land that is not what rises to the level of ESL almost. And then we're not really we have a lot of money in that program. We've gotten some gains, but if the beach is such a priority, and I mean, we have that millage that people are paying for conservations, it's just another option rather than passing a half cent off to everyone. It's just another option. It doesn't have to be the option. If not, then we need to go ahead and talk about putting the ESL on a referendum at some point here and starting a campaign to continue ESL. But it's just another mechanism for having dedicated millage that we have for conservation. We just now dedicate it out to the beach for a short period of time. Not saying that it sunsets forever, but you can bring ESL back in 4 to 5 years after you're done with your beach, or you have additional funding. It's just one of the many things that we haven't talked about, to talk about other ways to get there with funding. I think the whole 18 miles right now is a big commitment for the Flagler County to work out, but I'll let the board do whatever they.
Well, I guess in hearing Ms. Richardson, the only counter I'd say is that from the beginning, we've had an unincorporated plan, which we used as the basis for bringing in the Barrier Island and the other municipalities with the half penny. I don't know. That's the only two plans that we've had which have morphed a little bit as we've negotiated with the municipalities, but not to any major degree. It's that small benefit unit that they are working with us on to solve, which is a local control issue. They're working with us to solve that at the local level. I think you got to put this back on the agenda. We're going to have to vote on this. So I think in a future meeting, we have to put the half penny now. We can't have staff continuing to do this. This is not helpful at all. And we're going to have to put the beach renourishment on the agenda and continue to either do it or not. And I would push it for sometime probably in May. It's got to be this budget issue, and it has to be separate from the musings that are going on in Tallahassee. And I'd say the Doge thing is one thing. Doge is efficiency. Doge, what you're talking about is investment in the beach infrastructure. So, I mean, all for the digging down and looking for efficiencies within us, and that will come up probably in the next meeting as we look to follow the governor's lead. But that's working its way through our system right now. But I just
Well, this county, we're not unlike every other county in Florida. We have experienced rapid growth. We have experienced home values, which I haven't lived through a budget yet, but by the mere fact that we have increased new home sales and appraised value, we have been benefiting from increased revenue based on homes in Flagler County. I would have to say the upward trend has got to be at least the last 8 years. We have to justify spending that increase, and maybe some of that increase can go towards the beach. But there are millions and millions and millions of dollars that this county gets that we need to account for, and we need to put where our mouth is, which is our priorities. So, I mean, I'm working through this budget thing. It's very confusing. Yes, I agree with Commissioner Pennington. There's 9 million some odd dollars in environmentally sensitive land fund. Will we ever find that? Well, if Palm Coast keeps annexing at the rate that it has, and we can't find any industry to come to Flagler County, why do we need all that money? I mean, it's just a rethinking of things. And the first step is not to increase taxes. I think it's going to be consistently understood, but I'm ready for a vote if everybody else is. But we need to turn our thinking cap around a little bit and get serious about what the citizens in Flagler County have to absorb.
I brought up the environmentally sensitive land about a month ago, funds, and I was told that it couldn't be done. So I don't know what can and cannot be done. So therefore, I can't make decisions on stuff that I don't really know what's legal and not legal, and I'd have to get a legal opinion on it. But I was told by people in other counties that you can use ESL funds. So I'm questioning the directions of what's right, what's wrong, what do we do, and how do we make this the most affordable, and maybe our range of going to 2029, which is 5 years from now. I know we all want to do long strategic plans, but we may have less money or more money. We don't know until we get there. So this huge foresight, which the others had used before, is now twisted and changing as time goes on. We don't know what the future holds. I just see 1.8 numbers down on the Dow. It's been a tremendous turnabout of fear in the country. So financial fear. So where do we go from here? And is that a fact or not a fact? Because I'm very confused as far as why we can't take some of those lands today rather than just put them out in the woods and for when we need the money the most, as well as in all the other things we've got planned. So I'm just going to stop saying anything after that because I'm not bright enough to go any further.
I just want to clarify. It was a little confusing the way I said it, but not to take our current ESL funds. Our ESL funds are for our ESL program. This is just about whether or not it goes out to referendum or we sunset it for a small period of time to dedicate that millage that that people, the residents already paying towards the beach program. So it was just a discussion. It wasn't even a discussion about the ESL. I almost want to say it's just another funding mechanism, opportunity, or idea. Are there other ways to get there? And so that's really what I meant. I didn't want to tear down our ESL program. It's just not, lately it's been difficult to find quality land that people don't want more money than the appraised value is. That's a nice way of saying it. So I'm sorry if I got confused. I don't want to.
It wasn't
I don't
you.
want to strike
was
down the
somebody from
ESL
somewhere else.
funds and
No,
everything else.
It came from somewhere else. It was nothing from anyone here. This was outside of this community.
Right, but referendums and different
Right.
ESLs are created differently. So ours was by the voter. So the language that's in the referendum that our voters voted on is what controls that money. You can't deviate from that. So our language was for the purchase of environmentally sensitive
It's
lands.
fine. It's just an idea.
No,
because
I'm just
without
saying,
ideas,
though,
we don't get anywhere.
So
So are you asking that we go ahead and tee up on the agenda the half cent? Is that what you're
You have to. Staff's asked to know what they're working with, and right now, they're under the guidance of our consensus from a month and a half ago, working with the municipalities. So they can't continue on this path if it's going to be fruitless. They need to know. So it's got to go on the agenda during this budget cycle, I would say probably in May. TDC is meeting in 2 weeks, and they're going to talk about the allocation that's on their agenda. So there's still some information that TDC should work through, and additional feedback from the municipalities. I think by the time you get additional feedback from them, and then on the opposite side, I think the Doge issue is something we can start working on now. And we have a response back to the governor, which will be a discussion with myself and the administrator on the information that they've requested and getting it to them, which we can bring back in 2 weeks as well.
And just to be on the same page, I haven't gotten an additional request for information other than the initial, whether or not we're financially constrained, which we're not. They have not asked for anything additional. They it's my understanding that they end up using AI, and they comb through anything that's out there in the public to determine if there's efficiencies. We haven't been notified of anything. So I'm just trying to manage expectations, because as we build the budget, I don't want to get to a point where we're at our first public hearing having to make changes in between the two. So if I understand what the direction is from the board, it definitely makes it easier as we develop the budget. When we've looked internally, it would mean cutting programs and cutting positions if we were to come up with the funding from our existing budget. And if that's the direction that the board wants to provide, it would be helpful, again, if we know what the direction is, so that we're delivering a budget to you that you actually approve. It's my budget until the time that it's tentative and I present it to you. But it just makes it somewhat difficult to manage the expectation if I don't know what it is you're looking for. So
When are you comfortable bringing the vote for your budget process? So on the beach nourishment.
On the beach portion, I would, rather than spend time and, not just administration, staff, legal, and even the cities, I would prefer to do it at our next workshop in April rather than wait to May, because we were scheduled to go to the cities to do draft interlocals with them in April or May. So if we're looking at the constitutionals budgets are due to us, I believe it's June 1st. We don't get the final number, I don't believe, until July 1. So
I'm better for the first in April, May.
Okay.
But I think it's too soon to put it back.
We
I
can
think
do-
TDC needs to meet.
maybe we can do it in workshop, the first
Meeting in May, first
meeting
Monday
in May.
No, but you can get consensus. And if you want to bring it to as an actual agenda item, but I think we gave her consensus to continue working before. So if you want to tell her to stop working on it, then you could do that at a workshop.
Okay. First meeting in May, workshop.
You'll be getting the conversations with the cities completed by the 1st of May, correct? Do you believe so? Of where they stand?
I know where the staff has a sense of where their boards stand. I know that today. But it's doing the draft interlocals and meeting with them, with their elected officials publicly. Some of them would be in workshops, some of them would be in board meetings. I don't want to go down a road that it's not going to happen, because I don't want to waste our time or theirs. So.
Right. Okay, thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I think that this is so important that we should have an agenda item and vote on the half cent at our next meeting. Because if we're going to vote no, which it sounds like we're going to do, we're going to vote no on it, that will stop all this work that Heidi and her staff have to do. And the hours they're spending on this are no good if we're not going to invoke the half-cent
Yeah, but
sales
I'd want to have TDC have an opportunity to weigh in. That kills TDC weighing in on it. And they should have an opportunity to at least talk about the nourishment. I think from their benefit, that pushes it to the first meeting in May.
Well, but it's irregardless of whether we approve the half-cent sales tax or not, the TDC still has to decide on how much we're going to get each year from their coffers. It has nothing to do with the half-cent sales tax.
Well, it's part of the overall plan. It sure does. It's part of the mechanism
Oh, I
that
understand.
makes the
It's a-
half penny
it's a
work. So if TDC,
piece,
just
but-
more information to be able to weigh, it's, in my opinion, is how TDC feels. And we, I think you owe it to them to get some feedback from TDC. I mean, this is the half penny is the tourism generation. The beach is the half. That's the tourist generation arm. Let's give TDC an opportunity to weigh in on it. My opinion.
I think
Okay.
we're discussing the date of the meeting that you want to make this vote. Is that what we're discussing at this moment?
May, first meeting in May.
I understand. I'm just saying, that's what we're talking about right this second.
Do you want it a workshop or an agenda item? I hear 2 workshop. No, first meeting in May. After. First meeting is a morning meeting, so the workshops are after that. Are you pushing it to the second meeting?
I'm sorry, Commissioner, we're not getting any of that on the microphones.
Sorry.
TDC meets on the 23rd,
The 23rd, and
2
our
days
next
after
meeting?
our next meeting.
I see, okay. And there's no way they could have maybe a special meeting?
It was pushed already, so
Okay.
this is a
The
new
23rd
date.
is a pushed meeting.
This already is a push meeting.
Okay, thank you. Just trying to make sure that we're all in the same line from what Greg was just saying, so, okay, thank
Mr.
you,
Moylan,
Andy.
does it matter either way?
No, at a workshop, you can provide consensus.
Okay, let's do it. Workshop. Everybody okay? All right. I think that was the longest county administrator report we've ever had. Mr. Moylan, County Attorney, report.
Thank you. I will be succinct. I have just 2 items. One, we touched on it earlier with the airport zoning. I wanted to let you know that the staff has begun conversations with our counterparts in the municipalities for interlocals regarding joint planning and annexations. And I think it would be an appropriate topic for your joint meeting in July with the municipalities on that agenda. I just wanted to let the board know that we haven't lost sight of that, and we're going to continue the momentum moving that forward. Secondly, I wanted you to know, you probably saw reports that the Old Dixie Hotel has been demolished. That's great, finally. Obviously, they've just got to get the debris out of there and close out that permit to finish that up, and we assume they will do that. Also, what you may not know is that we did get a final judgment from the court in that case. The court, as you know, had previously upheld the contract as a valid and enforceable contract. And one of the things I put in that contract was attorney's fees. So that remains outstanding. They need to pay the county our attorney's fees because the lawsuit was necessitated by their breach of the contract. All of this was entirely avoidable, and they could have demolished it years ago. They chose to drag this through the court and thumb their nose at the court and abuse the judicial process. The court assessed them $115,000 fine for contempt of court, and we are going to be pursuing our attorney's fees as well, and that is all covered in the final judgment. So I wanted you to know that we will be made whole. We're going to work on that. That'll be the final piece of that saga.
Okay.
When it's all said and done, who owns that property?
Well, if they pay the attorney's fees, they will continue to own it, and the court fines. If they refuse, like they have so far, there is the possibility of going to foreclosure, and then it would be bid out. And it's a commercial piece of property, pretty good size, right next to the interstate. So I would anticipate someone would bid on that, especially now that the decrepit nuisance is gone. And from the proceeds of that sale, we would have our attorney's fees.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any follow-up?
Title to any of the $1,000 a day for being out of compliance?
That's a great question. So the $115,000 is owed to the court. It would be paid to the clerk of the court, and then it would be up to us to negotiate with the clerk as to where those funds would go. It's not automatic that it would come to us.
Okay. Anybody else? Thank you, sir. All right, at this time, we'll go out for the final community outreach. This is a period's been allocated for public comment. Items not on the agenda. Speakers allowed up to 3 minutes. First speaker, please. Thank you.
Item was on the agenda. I just missed the opportunity to speak for the item 7 in the 7 area, so I wish to address now. In February 2024, I began volunteering for the creatively described Affordable Housing Advisory Committee with one question: where can the underserved citizen and I mean by underserved, at or below the median income, participate in a simple, clear path to build relevant skills that enable the person to achieve financial stability to be able to afford a home? The AHAC meeting, Affordable Housing Advisory Committee, AHAC, meetings offer an opportunity to creatively discuss density among builders, realtors, commissioners, and bankers. As a 25-year educator, I'm a little bit more than 25 years, thank goodness, I have not been provided the availability to offer creative solutions for a path of home ownership for the underserved person to be allowed to be a part of the discussions in the AHAC meetings. Therefore, I communicated with the management of AHAC to request making room for creative solutions for the underserved person to be allowed to speak during the AHAC meetings. I believe affordable housing should be transparent with a plan to plant the seed to grow a healthy middle class. I work to help make this a reality in Flagler County with my 25 years of career and technical education experience and the ability to network for students' long-term financial ability. I went down too fast, sorry. Long-term financial ability. I was on a roll and then I scrolled too fast. Through relevance. My concern was reflected during the February 2025 AHAC meeting. I was denied an agenda item to be able to present. The chair expected my presentation. The article I referenced in the presentation is from the Pew Charitable Trust, Spring 2024, that states outdated housing policies and financing structures have led to the current problem. Everyone deserves a safe, affordable place to live, from Pew Charitable. I also shared the Forbes article uncovering a home builder's billionaire boom. During the February meeting, I noticed that the February meeting minutes did not include the several-minute conversation between 3 AHAC members discussing the removal of the term migrants from the housing objectives. I was offended by this conversation, but I kept my comments to myself due to the negative responses I have received from AHAC management. I asked the county to allow my concern for a path to be part of the discussion needed to uncover the best housing solutions for all Flagler County residents from the perspective of the underserved. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Hi, Darlene Shelley, Palm Coast K-section. I want to continue what I was trying to get across earlier. Land use compatibility zoning regulations. Local governments are required at a minimum to address 5 elements as part of their airport land use compatibility zoning regulations. One of those things being the prohibition of incompatible uses near an airport with no noise study and restriction of new incompatible uses within runway protection zones. The land use compatibility in Chapter 333 federal statutes assume compatible land use to mean land uses that are generally considered to be compatible with airports, such as industrial and commercial uses, compared to less compatible uses such as residential, schools, and churches. Flagler County has failed the residents of Palm Coast by disregarding the FAA FDOT mandate to implement timely the airport zoning regulations as required in 2016. This dereliction has resulted in hundreds of incompatible residential homes to be built in close proximity of the airport. They failed to provide notification of airport noise potential and aircraft overflight potential to unsuspecting home buyers. Palm Coast can no longer tolerate the siege upon our homes and environment due to county negligence and lack of implementation of the FAA requirements that would have prevented so many incompatible uses around the airport and allowed any industrial uses adjacent to the airport to be hamstrung. And indirect noncompliance of the 2014 interlocal agreement that called for economic development and diversifying the tax base. There was multiple ordinances that were signed by both the county and the city that were ignored. Perhaps the money the airport recently found should go to the residents of Palm Coast instead of towards an unnecessary terminal for which no passenger will ever buy a ticket. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker.
Raymond Royer, Painters Hill section. I'm going to talk about the replenishing of the sand again. I've talked to many people, especially the incorporated section. Again, there's a lot of people that are trying to put seawalls up and get turned down numerous times from the zoning part of it. And my understanding, I talked to a gentleman that's hopefully going to get 5 homes with a seawall. He's in the process of doing it right now. He's in the middle of it. And I was just talking to him to try to get more educated out of it and what he's going through. And I said to him, you know, is there a government assisting you at all? And he said, yeah, the government would give you grant money if you're homesteaded. And my property, unfortunately, is not homesteaded there, so because he doesn't have a house there. But there's other houses there that are not homesteaded. And, you know, I was hearing you talk, and then I talked to other people that, you know, Beverly Beach government down there. And like you guys are bickering about how to pay for it. They're sitting back and just wondering, what is the plan? Like, they don't understand where these are coming from. Like, give us a plan so we know what to do. And so they're sitting back, you know, waiting. Again, most of the beach, like somebody just mentioned, She would like to get a description of how long the beach is, who's responsible for those beach areas, and majority of it's really unincorporated. And again, like I said, probably since 2000, there's been about 40 homes that applied to try to get seawalls, and numerous times denied. Just like my section, I was mentioning the 19 homes that got the seawall in Painters Hill section. Now, there's a $3 million home south of that seawall. He went before yous and asked if he could put a seawall. Nope, sorry, you gotta have a home. Now, he built a $3 million home, and he's been denied again. He's trying to protect his interest that he put into this beach. Greg always talks about how expensive it is. Yeah, but we have private entity trying to put seawalls in and get restricted time after time. It doesn't cost anybody here any money. It's private homes that fit they're right now they're going for $1 million for those lots, just for a lot. And these people are buying them, and they put seawalls up, and you just keep telling them, you got to have a house first, you got to do this, you got to do that. You've got to come up with a better plan to try to incorporate and get state funding, local governments also to help fund. I mean, it's great that some of these people can't afford their own seawall, but there's some cases, like I said to you, for Painters Hill, when that was pushed through. Anyway, 3 of the people of those homes got liens on their properties. They couldn't afford it, but it was pushed through.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
David Eckert, Calais del Sur. Procedurally, I'd like to support the idea that Greg Hansen presented to take a half-cent vote at the next meeting. The reason I would do that is that most of the work that for both plans, the fallback plans for the unincorporated area, as well as the half-cent sale tax on a county-wide basis, most of that work is done. The idea that you would not support that at the next meeting, to me, doesn't make any sense, because it's both paths are going to be in parallel over the next two months or 3 months. One is through the unincorporated area as a budget process using the MSBU, and the other is going to be based upon the response of the cities and the interlocal agreements. Both of those can exist over the next in parallel. And so the idea not to support the half-cent sales tax to get the feedback from the cities, I think, is a lost opportunity. There's no commitment that you're making that's going to backfire by just taking the vote on the half-cent sales tax at the next board meeting, showing the confidence to your staff so that they can continue the discussions with the cities, and that's going to work out whatever way it does. You can't control that. Whatever it comes out, you will not be harming anyone. You will not be harming the state relative to their desire to take half-cent sales tax down, to reverse it. You will be just allowing the process to continue so that you can get the results of the feedback from the citizens, in the workshops, from all of these processes can go forward, and who knows what's going to win in May, June, July, August, but at least you will have kept both of those alive to let the process play out. So I would encourage you to go forward on that parallel process.
Thank you. Any other speakers? Morning.
Good morning. Sorry, I'm just getting an opportunity to speak
Is
now.
it
I
afternoon
couldn't do it
already?
earlier. But I am here, sorry?
No, go ahead.
Okay, sorry. I'm here to speak up against the possibility of a fuel farm in Palm Coast. As stated by Libby Levette in Fight for Zero, the terms fuel farms and resiliency facilities may sound reassuring, but they serve as thinly veiled attempts to greenwash the true nature of these projects. By portraying the construction of fuel storage and distribution facilities as vital components of resiliency planning, proponents of these bills seek to garner public support while obscuring the potential risks and consequences. Our water system here barely can handle the residents that are already here, let alone the ones that are planning to move in with all these new apartment buildings and homes being built. Then they want our water infrastructure to be able to handle industrial complex company, which incredibly enough is possibly going to be built near a water treatment plant, as well as put us in danger of a hazardous accident, which this company is already known for. They have had plenty of infractions and a huge history of safety violations and already had near catastrophic accidents happen. Why have another possibility or reason to contaminate our water with a spill? Why would we want to have dangerous materials that could be catastrophic if, God forbid, there is an explosion? No thanks. Let's instead move forward with a sport complex that can benefit all residents, especially the children. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, one more.
In response to my comments about the airport overlay earlier, Adam didn't want to make any comments to my questions about the study and things, and the assessment not including all of the overlay area, yet homes will be considered a hazard property, whether it's recorded or not, whether insurance companies will know about it or not, we don't know. And with all due respect, Commissioner Richardson, for you to say residents should have done their due diligence before purchasing a home near the airport, I find that response at this point in time to the newest study questions that I had disrespectful, condescending, and ironic that you would suggest my questions or concerns were because I didn't do my due diligence. Fact is, I did, and my home was not considered in a hazard zone when I bought it. The reason that it may now is because the board did not do their due diligence back in 2016 and address these assessments in a timely manner, is my opinion, and using best practices, because maybe you wanted to develop and get home building first and not make any impact fees on the developers and let us pay the brunt of it. Had you done these studies in a timely manner, now my home may not even be able to be built because of what you're doing 10 years later. I'd appreciate if you'd refrain from making those type of comments to your constituents in the future, as I actually heard you do this once before at the past meeting when this was discussed. And how would you address a person who's concerned about the fuel farms? Would you tell them they should have done their due diligence when just a year and a half ago there was no discussion of this? And they're still building out there, and yet you just want to go forward with a fuel farm, knowing of the hazards it will bring. Do you want to make all of Palm Coast a hazard zone now? Thank you. Hope you think about it.
Thank you. Any other final comments? All right, seeing none, we'll bring it back to the board. Commissioner reports, Commissioner Hanson.
I don't have anything, sir.
Commissioner Pennington.
I'll make it quick since we need to take a little break for next one. Thank you to Matt Rivera and team for the sound system at Cracker Day now that they can actually hear them calling pigs and everything. So much appreciated. I got a lot of feedback from that, and they were so happy. So much thanks.
Commissioner Carney.
I have very little. I just had a comment regarding the April 1st City of Palm Coast meeting where the airport did come up. And actually, I'd like to go on record to say whatever we can do to get the FAA here, I'm totally for it. So if they need to go through with a CFR procedure, then I'm fine with it. However, there was a comment made by the mayor that we are, quote, we are losing a lot of economic opportunity by not having the airport. And he said, really, it should be under our control. I met with economic development and asked, and continue to ask, I don't think there are any documented losses in economic opportunity because the airport was not under the rule of the city. I would think that having an airport in Flagler County, no matter which street it's on, drives corporate planes, gets people from point A to point B very efficiently, and in fact probably has ranked us in several site selections because we do have one. So I guess I don't know if the mayor had a bad day that day or the mayor's just tired of hearing all the complaints just like I am. And I can understand the comment, but I wish he would be able to address all of these lost economic opportunities in the future when he speaks. Only because I don't agree with that, and I'm not so sure everybody that read that article agrees with it. And I look forward to our meeting when we do meet.
And thank you, Commissioner Richardson.
I guess I don't have anything else to say since I'm controversial today and made some people unhappy that, I feel that I have my own opinions too, but I wish everybody had seen the week I've done. I've written all kinds of things, but we're getting into the time of the workshop. So may we all have a blessed, for those of you who will not be here for the workshop, may we all have a blessed holiday coming up this weekend, whether it's for Palm Sunday or Passover. We live in the best city in the country, so in the best location in the world, in my opinion, county in the country. So thank you for being here today.
Thank you. Remind me at the end of the workshop, I'll give everybody an opportunity if they felt rushed to be able to talk about stuff, so. Okay, and which is what I'm going to do. I'm going to wait till after the end of the workshop and pass on comments for right now. So I'll take a motion to adjourn.
Move we adjourn.